Chapter 2872. Could it be that this person really didn't know fear? As he lay on the ground, Wei Hu's mind filled with such questions. Grandpa Su, a trillion-level expert. Even if this person was from the human race, even if His Majesty had been invited here by the ancestral dragon clan, he'd offended trillion-level experts, and two of them at that. Even if he was the human race's majesty, there was no way he could protect him. A trillion-level expert. He wasn't as easy to deal with as the others. The hitman's point stones landed in Yi Zichen's hands one by one. As he looked at them, Yi Zichen couldn't help but reveal a satisfied expression. Points. Although he didn't know what use having more points would have. The only thing he knew was, he wouldn't be bullied. But he guessed that points weren't just for showing off his status in the ancestral dragon clan. They had other uses as well. Otherwise, Zhuing wouldn't have sent people to leave him 900,000 points. He didn't know if Zhuing knew. He already had several billion points. If she knew, her expression would definitely be particularly interesting. You don't have any more? Yi Zichen narrowed his eyes at them, his expression filled with undisguised menace. None. Without exception, the hitmen all shook their heads. Yi Zichen couldn't detect any frustration in their eyes like Wei Hu's at losing point. Perhaps their points belonged to the government and belonged to the government. He didn't even know where his little treasury was hidden. In other words, the points they obtained this time actually didn't affect them much. Yi Zichen couldn't be bothered to argue. Big Head was already here. He guessed their stash didn't even have a few 100,000. Yi Zichen didn't care for those points. You can go now. Yi Zichen put away all the points, then smiled. Mr. Yi. Wei Hu slowly crawled to his feet. There are some things I still have to tell you. I admit that you took my points, but I'll report everything that happened today to Master Song. Are you threatening me? Yi Zichen frowned. No. Wei Hu shook his head. Perhaps you've just arrived at the ancestral dragon clan and don't understand our customs. We've always done things this way. We speak our mind and don't play tricks behind people's back. There are some things that I need to tell you, so naturally I should tell you. Is that so? If that was how the ancestral dragon clan handled matters, then Yi Zichen rather liked it. At the very least, the other party was open to you and didn't play any tricks. It's just that, yesterday at the gambling den, the mustached man kidnapped Fairy Blue Lotus. Although it was a collaboration between the two of them, this could also be considered a dirty trick, right? In other words, they meant that there would be actions, but these actions would be displayed in the open for you to see with your own eyes. None of that mattered to Yi Zichen. The most important thing was to get points. Sure, just notify them. Yi Zichen shrugged. I'll wait for him. If that's the case, then we'll be leaving. Wei Hu led his subordinates and turned to leave. Wan silently watched their backs as they left. His heart couldn't help but be in turmoil. More than 6 billion. He snatched it away just like that? If his fighters were to be included, it would be around 8 billion. This was the efficiency of those in power. In less than an hour, 8 billion entered his account. Hurry up and leave as well. Take advantage of the fact that they don't have any methods to take you down. Yi Zichen tilted his head. Yi Zichen tilted his head and glanced at him. If you delay any longer, they'll have enough points. Your 350 million might end up in their pockets. Mr. Yi, I advise you not to keep this shop, Wan said with a troubled expression. Wan said with an uneasy expression. Master Song isn't someone to be trifled with. I reckon it won't be long before he finds us. Since you've already earned several billion, throwing down a shop won't affect you too much. Oh, that's a good idea. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. Yeah, it's better to avoid trouble that can be avoided, Wan reminded him kindly. Wan reminded him kindly, but Yi Zichen looked up into the sky in confusion. What a pity I can't leave. Boom! Almost as soon as Yi Zichen finished speaking, the entire shop exploded into smithereens. A huge explosion resounded through the entire Merchant Street. Everyone who was shopping on the Merchant Street subconsciously looked towards the source of the sound. What's going on? Such a loud sound. It seems to have come from the Antique Street. The customers on the Merchant Street all ran towards the Antique Street. It seems like it wasn't just the Earthlings who liked to watch a show, even the ancestral Dragon Clan was the same. Momo, what else do you want to buy? At that moment, a young man who looked like a young master looked at a ponytailed girl with an infatuated expression while he was followed by several attendants and maids. What are you buying? Didn't you hear the explosion just now? The girl's tone was not friendly, but the young master seemed to be crazy as his eyes revealed an infatuation. Momo is so cute even when she's angry. There's something wrong with you, right? The girl looked at him in disdain. The young master instantly nodded. I'm sick. Momo, I feel like I'm beyond cure. Can you control your young master? The girl shrugged towards the attendant. That's your young master. Gu Momo, I hope you can correct your attitude, the attendant behind the young man said. Young Master Chen and is rather tolerant of you, but that isn't a reason for him to let himself go. Yes. Gu Momo was speechless. She really suspected that these attendants were robots, artificial intelligences. The things they said had no EQ at all. You are not allowed to say Momo. Young Master Chen glared fiercely. Yes, young master. The attendant hurriedly lowered his head and admitted his mistake. This scene caused Gu Momo to sigh uncontrollably. These people are really strange. Or rather, the people in the universe are really strange. I'm not going to buy anything, I'm going to watch the show. Gu Momo looked in the direction of the crowd, but Chernin shrugged. What's there to watch? It's just an explosion. If Momo likes it, I'll show you how to blow up planets when we return, okay? Life planets, stars, resource planets, whatever you want to see, I'll blow it up for you, and you can choose the scale, okay? There's something wrong with you. Gu Momo shouted again. The attendants behind Chernin frowned, but Chernin still had that submissive look on his face. That's right, didn't I answer you just now? I really can't take it anymore. Gu Momo waved his hand and walked towards the Antique Street. Chernin chased after him and shouted, What can't take it anymore, Momo? Can't you take it anymore? Or do you not like the ancestral Dragon Clan? Tell me. If you don't like this place, let's go back, tell me, Momo. Chapter 2873. Wow, what's going on? Isn't this the antique city from before? How did it get destroyed like this? Countless clansmen of the ancestral Dragon Clan stood outside the Antique Street and gazed at the destroyed shop. It was none other than the one Yi Zichen had just bought. At that moment, the entire shop had been reduced to rubble, and a thick layer of dust hovered in the air. Look! At that moment, someone in the crowd suddenly pointed above the shop. Then, they saw a middle-aged man in a red robe standing right above the shop. The man's eyes were pitch black, giving off a very sinister feeling. Flight! I'm not seeing things right? Everyone started to rub their eyes when they saw the red-robed man, as if they had seen something unbelievable. 100 billion. 100 billion level of power. The crowd of onlookers began to shout, and soon after, more and more people began to exclaim in surprise or suck in a cold breath. 100 billion? Can't it be 1 trillion? You sure are daring. Would 1 trillion-level big shot come to a place like Liberation City? Who knows? In Liberation City of the ancestral Dragon Clan, over 1 billion was a rare existence. 10 billion was practically not seen even once a year, and 100 billion was an unreachable existence for countless ordinary people. As for 1 trillion, they didn't even dare to think about it. The antique city was destroyed by that big shot, right? What kind of blood feud was this? He actually destroyed the shop. When the security team comes, they're going to be fined a lot. TSK. Does a big shot of that level care about security fees? Hasn't the antique city been closed for a long time? I heard that the shop owner has been looking for a buyer, but it hasn't been sold yet. The business of the antique city has always been good, so its sudden closure was quite confusing. Now it seems like Juan pissed off a big shot, so he doesn't dare to continue. This shop is worth at least a few $100 million, right? What's more, someone who can open an antique city like this has at least $1 billion on hand. He's a big shot as well. What's the use? More than $1 billion. In our eyes, it's still a big deal, but in front of a real big shot, it's nothing. Now that the big shot has come to our door and destroyed the shop, I guess this matter won't end well. There's going to be a good show to watch. What are you looking at? 1 billion dares to challenge 100 billion? The people around them discussed animatedly, and it was not hard to hear from their words that they were taking pleasure in the misfortune of others. That was indeed the case. They were all people struggling at the bottom. Even if they had millions or tens of millions in their hands, they were still worlds apart from those who had hundreds of millions or billions. When they saw that someone was about to suffer, they naturally rejoiced at his misfortune. Among these people, there were actually quite a number of shop owners in the commercial street. In the past, the business in the antique city was booming, and the daily flow of customers made people envious. It was unknown how many businesses had lost their business. At this moment, seeing that the antique city was in trouble, it was already very nice of them not to laugh to the sky. Of course, this was just the antique city. If the Heaven and Earth Trading Company could also go bankrupt, then they might be even happier. It was just that they had never thought, if it wasn't for the Heaven and Earth Trading Company and the antique city that attracted customers for them, how could small shops like them survive? You people, don't you care that there are people inside who are injured? Some whispers of disdain came from the crowd. This person was impressively Momo. The surrounding people glanced at her, then immediately sneered and curled their lips without making a sound. Perhaps, in their eyes, whether there were people inside the shop or not didn't matter to them. They were just here to watch the show. What did it have to do with them whether or not someone died? The people here are so cold. Seeing the expressions of those people, Momo muttered in her heart. She had clearly seen those uncles and aunties who sold breakfast in the morning were very enthusiastic people. That kind of feeling was as if she had returned home. Now it seemed it was indeed the enthusiasm of the people at the bottom. Everywhere she went, the middle class was cold, and they were also self-righteous, narrow-minded, bad. Momo stood on her tiptoes and stretched her neck to look at the shop. She hoped that there was someone inside. At this moment, "Hey, hey, hey, someone is coming out!" Someone in the crowd shouted. Momo hurriedly stretched her neck to look, but she was too small and was blocked by the people in front. "Chernin! I'm here. Squat down, carry me," Momo whispered arrogantly. In an instant, several threatening gazes looked over at her. "Oh, okay." Chernin squatted down without thinking. Momo faced the threatening gazes of the waiters and guards and licked her lips. "Come on up, Momo," Chernin said. "Forget it." Momo curled her lips. "I better not go up, let's just leave it like this." Those guards and waiters were really too scary. Momo was afraid that if she rode on Chernan's neck, they would slit her neck tonight. "Why?" Chernan was still very puzzled. "No reason, I can see it, there's no need." Momo waved her hand. Chernan frowned and looked at her height, then looked at the passers-by around her, who were obviously a head taller than her. "Can see it? How can I see it?" Then he realized that it was probably because of Momo's pride that she didn't want to admit that she was short. What he needed to do right now was to respect her decision. "That's right. I'll just pretend that she can see it." Yizichin pushed open the wooden boards in the ruins of the shop and looked at the two beauties in his arms. "Hua Jianro, Baiyu, are you two all right?" "No." Baiyu and Hua Jianro both shook their heads. Yizichin touched the back of his head, then pushed open the wooden boards around him. It was fortunate that they were made of wood. If they were made of stone, then wouldn't they be smashed to death? Not long later, Juan and his grandson also crawled out of the ruins. During that time, Yi Zichen even helped them out. What's going on? Why did it suddenly collapse? Hua Jianrou flipped her hair and frowned at Yi Zichen, who was covered in dirt. Collapse? Naturally, someone did it on purpose. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes, then looked up into the sky. Hua Jianrou and company also looked over, then noticed the person in the sky. Wan squinted his eyes for a long while, and in the blink of an eye, he sat down in the ruins with a look of horror. Wan, did you ignore my words? The person in the sky said coldly. Wan instantly broke out in a cold sweat. I don't dare. Then hurry up and hand over the deed, the person in the sky said coldly. The person in the sky made no attempt to hide anything. Yi Zichen smiled, then reached out his hand. I have the deed. Who are you, Yi Zichen? Oh, it's you. You took 1 billion points from me, and even said nonsense to my subordinates, saying to wait for me? That's right. Very well, choose a way to die. I'll send you on your way. Chapter 2874. The murmurs in the sky rumbled like thunder. The ancestral dragon commoners in the distance couldn't help but gulp as well. The dignity of $1 billion big shot. Did you guys hear that? That person actually stole the big shot's points. He really doesn't want to live anymore. He dares to steal anyone's points. Who is that? I think he bought the shop in Antique City. Can you pay attention to the main point? Is the ownership of Antique City still important? What's important is that brat stole the $1 billion big shot's points. The commoners discussed amongst themselves. Yi Zichen looked up at the red-robed middle-aged man in the sky and raised his eyebrows. Flying? Didn't the ancestral dragon clan not have any cosmic energy? How could someone fly? Could this be due to the amount of points? Can you come down and talk? My neck can't take it if you keep standing up there. Yi Zichen smiled warmly. Yi Zichen smiled warmly, then pulled out 2 decent chairs from the rubble. How about we sit down and chat? Heh! The red-robed man glanced down. Where did you get your confidence from? I'm not sure. Maybe it's something I was born with. Yi Zichen smiled warmly. Yi Zichen smiled warmly. He was completely at ease in front of this trillion-dollar big shot. He actually knew very well. This person was the Master Wei who spoke of. In other words, the owner of 1 trillion points. This could be seen from Wan's expression. Ever since he arrived, he looked as if he had lost his soul. Something I was born with. Then I'm afraid you're going to suffer a bit this time. All of a sudden, thunder boomed in the sky. The originally clear sky was suddenly filled with pitch-black thunderclouds. Within the clouds, lightning flashed. A change in the world. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and looked up at the thunderclouds. What can I do with points? Be protected. It can also burn. Fly. Now they're even F***king using the danger of the world. So what? I can do whatever I want in the ancestral dragon clan with points? Yi Zichen frowned as he looked up at the flashing lightning. It really does seem like he's controlling the wrath of heaven and earth. Yi, what's going on? Hua Jianrou gulped as she pointed up at the sky. Did you run into a tough opponent? Do you even need to ask? You can tell just by looking. Yi Zichen shrugged. Those that can ride the clouds and cause thunder are all deities in my eyes. Do you think immortals aren't tough people? Then quickly think of a way. Hua Jianrou acted like she was waiting for Yi Zichen's idea. Seriously, why did you steal other people's points? We've already made a killing by robbing him of a few billion. Why don't we return the billion to him now? We don't want this broken shop anymore. You wish. Yi Zichen glanced at her speechlessly. Was it still a matter of 1 billion now? He said that he would return the 1 billion, but would the other party just let it go? He probably wouldn't be able to settle the matter even if he gave all of them to him. In truth, if Yi Zichen did this, he would incur the wrath of 1 trillion. It wasn't that he wanted to do anything. He just wanted to understand this world better. They had just arrived at the ancestral dragon clan, and they had to rely on themselves to figure out many things. Although they had a guide, the guide didn't mention anything about points. He had asked the merchants before. They were all low-level people and didn't know much. What they meant was that points were a daily necessity. To put it bluntly, it was a form of currency for the ancestral dragon clan. However, they didn't know what they could do with points. An auntie once said, when points reached a certain level, one could become a hero. This made Yi Zichen extremely curious about high-leveled point holders. He wanted to know more about their secret. That was why he chose to use this method to get the attention of 1,000,000,000 big shots and show them what they were capable of. From the looks of it, Yi Zichen saw burning points, flying in the sky and stirring the heavens and earth. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have even thought of it. When he first arrived at the ancestral dragon clan, the energy of the universe was sealed. Everyone walked on the ground. Who would believe that someone could fly? He wanted to explore more. He wanted to unearth all the secrets of the ancestral dragon clan's points. Then what do we do now? Hua Jianro frowned as she looked at the heavenly lightning above her head. Seriously, if they were in the universe, she could crush this sort of tiny lightning with a wave of her hand. I want him to try it, Yi Zichen suddenly said. Huh? Instantly, both Hua Jianro and Bai Yu looked at Yi Zichen in confusion. You want to be struck? Yeah, I want to try. Yi Zichen pursed his lips, then took out a point stone. Big Sister Hua, take this stone with Bai Yu. With these points, he probably won't be able to kill you too. No, you want to take it head-on? Hua Jianro was shocked. Yeah, I want to see just how powerful this lightning is. Yi Zichen licked his lips and looked up at the lightning above him. Yi Zichen licked his lips, then looked up at the heavenly lightning overhead, eager to give it a try. That's precious data. Right now, we have to figure everything out on our own. I'll try resisting it and see how effective it is. That way, I'll be able to analyze the strength of these trillions of experts. You're seeking death, right? Hua Jianro glared. I'm serious, Yi Zichen said seriously. Researchers naturally have to take risks. What's more, I've been struck by lightning before. Don't worry. I'll be fine. There's no need, right? Hua Jianro muttered. There's a need, Yi Zichen said seriously. Believe me, I definitely won't die. Did you forget? I'm a god. If I really can't take it, then I'll release my divine power. Lil Bai, what do you say? Hua Jianro tilted her head. Bai Yu didn't know how to reply. She also felt that it was too risky. You too, since you've decided, then do as I say. Yi Zichen stretched his neck, then pulled off his jacket and signaled them with his eyes. Bai Yu and Hua Jianro silently backed away. Yi Zichen looked at Wan, who was completely stunned. You're not leaving? I'll strike you later. Hearing Yi Zichen's voice, Wan hurriedly dragged his grandson and ran out. During that time, the red-robed man didn't say anything and simply allowed the others to leave. Not long later, Yi Zichen was the only one left in the ruins. Everyone's attention was focused on him. They wanted to see how he would choose in such a dire situation. In a situation like this, begging for mercy would lose face. If he didn't beg, he would lose his life. Then, everyone saw Yi Zichen, who was smiling coldly, slowly raised his head and raised his middle finger at the red-robed man in the sky. Chapter 2875. Middle Finger. Even amongst the ancestral dragon clan, this was an extremely insulting gesture. When the onlookers saw Yi Zichen raise his middle finger at the big shot in the sky, they were stunned. Is he crazy? He actually dared to raise his middle finger at a billion-level big shot? My God, I must still be dreaming. How could I possibly see such a crazy scene? Hey, don't you think this guy's courage is commendable? Indeed. If it weren't for him, we might never get to see this for the rest of our lives. What a pity, he's about to die. Yeah. Regardless of whether or not the ancestral dragon clansmen praised Yi Zichen's courage, they firmly believed. that he was dead for sure. The fury of a billion-level big shot wasn't so easily withstood. Didn't they see that the police hadn't arrived yet? They just didn't want to get on their bad side. Normally, if a commoner committed a crime, the police would have pounced on them like rabid dogs. They'd just take a bite out of them. In any case, Yi Zichen couldn't be bothered to care about what his clansmen thought. Right now, he was only doing what he wanted to do. That was research. He really wanted to see what lightning felt like. Then he could ask Lil Thunder whether the ancestral Dragon Clan's lightning was any different from the laws of the universe. Yi Zichen raised his right middle finger. In order to ensure that the red-robed man could see it, he raised his finger even higher. "Brat, are you provoking me?" However, he'd already said those harsh words and used the heaven and earth anomaly. When the red-robed man saw Yi Zichen's middle finger, yet he didn't attack. This made Yi Zichen extremely annoyed. "What? You're all bark and no bite? Are you trying to intimidate me? Are you pretending?" The lightning condensed but didn't dare fall. "You're not blind, so why do I have to repeat myself?" Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and laughed coldly. His words were so piercing that the surrounding ancestral dragon clansmen all gasped. This was simply too crazy. They were thankful that they'd come to the trade street today. If they hadn't, they might have missed out on such a great show. What's more, they saw it with their own eyes. The dignity of a billion-level big shot couldn't be insulted. This youth had done it thoroughly. "Brat, you're very arrogant. Anyone with eyes can tell." Yi Zichen's expression remained as cold as ever. Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou clenched their fists as they watched from the outside. "Stop talking. Stop talking," they prayed in their hearts. "I Chui Ku am not an unreasonable person. You stole my subordinate's points, and you stole the store that I wanted." The red-robed man in the air muttered. "What a joke." Yi Zichen couldn't help but snort. "The shop belongs to Wan. It's his right to sell it to whoever he wants. Why is it yours?" "Because I want it," Chui Ku muttered. "You get what you want," Yi Zichen said disdainfully. "According to you, why don't you just make this city yours?" "I have this thought." Chui Ku declined to comment. Then, he looked down at Yi Zichen with cold, condescending eyes. "You shouldn't be from the ancestral dragon clan, right? Your Majesty of the human race." "No wonder." Chui Ku shrugged, unsurprised. "If anyone else heard my name, they might have been so frightened that they couldn't even stand properly. Only you humans. Foreigners, the ignorant, are fearless." Chui Ku. He said he's Chui Ku, a trillion level. Not long after Chui Ku finished speaking, the onlookers outside all revealed horrified expressions. The trillion-level big shots of the ancestral dragon clan. As a member of the ancestral dragon clan, they naturally knew about them. They represented the top of the world outside of heroes. Their every action would affect the general public of the ancestral dragon clan. Everyone was shocked. They had thought that it would be 100 billion, but they never expected it to be a trillion-level figure. "This brat is so lucky." Yeah, he actually managed to piss off a trillion-level figure. Countless people discussed amongst themselves. Yi Zichen rubbed his nose and looked up at Chui Ku. "Am I ignorant? Maybe. I just know that everyone in this world should be equal. There shouldn't be anyone superior to anyone else. Didn't you steal Hu An's shop just because you had a lot of points?" "What? I earned my points bit by bit," muttered Chui Ku. Chui Ku said in a low voice, "Everyone in this world is born equal, but there are times when there is a need to differentiate between different classes. Why? Isn't it because of human nature? You say everyone in this world is equal, but do you humans really live up to that standard? If that's the case, then why do you say you're the human race's majesty? Based on what you're saying, you should say you're just an ordinary human, right? Actually, it's from your own words. You already think you're superior to everyone else, but now you're talking nonsense in front of me? What's the point? There's only one sentence in this world. The weak are prey to the strong. I'm stronger than Huan, so even if I stole his shop, it's only natural. If he doesn't accept it, then he can just take revenge on me, right? TCH. Yi Zichen couldn't help but laugh. So even trillion-level big shots like to talk big. Then based on what you're saying, since I'm stronger than your subordinate, is there a problem with me taking his points? No, Chui shook his head with a smile. I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong, but… Didn't I come to find you? You can steal from him, but I can steal from you. Isn't that right, Your Majesty? Yi Zichen let out a deep sigh. It seems like the ancestral dragon clan's people are really good at talking big. I admit defeat. If that's the case, then let's do it. Yi Zichen couldn't be bothered to say anything meaningless. Besides, he wasn't here to argue with Chui Ku. He was here for research. He needed data. What was the point of wasting so much breath? Couldn't he just bring down a bolt of lightning? Do you think I don't dare to kill you because of your status? Chui Ku laughed. The human race's majesty might have a high status to others, but in Yi Zichen's eyes, there was nothing special about it. At most, it would be slightly troublesome to kill him, but it wouldn't affect his life at all. Trillion level. That wasn't just because he had a lot of points. His status in the ancestral dragon clan was ridiculously high. No, hurry up and bring it down. Yi Zichen let out a long sigh. No matter what, you're a trillion-level big shot. Don't be such a sissy. Get things done quickly. Didn't you want to strike me? Come on. Strike me to death. Hurry up. Chapter 2876. To tell the truth, Chui Ku still hadn't sent the lightning down, but Yi Zichen was starting to panic. If you want to chop, do it quickly. What's the point of saying all that nonsense? Chui Ku frowned. He thought he'd already given Yi Zichen enough face. If it was anyone else from the ancestral dragon clan, who dared to speak to him like this and even gave him the middle finger, would be dead by now. And he died a horrible death. He'd given Yi Zichen a way out of this embarrassing situation multiple times, but the brat didn't appreciate it at all. He had even provoked him several times. Did he really think that he didn't dare to kill him? It was just the human race's majesty. Regardless of your position in the human race, you should follow the rules of the ancestral dragon clan. Heh! A cold chuckle escaped Chui Ku's mouth. Looks like the human tribe has really spoiled you too much. Ancestral dragon tribe will have to pay a price for such arrogance. Could you please send down the lightning? Yi Zichen tilted his head and looked up. I'm a bit sleepy now. If you don't dare to touch me, then come down and kowtow to me twice, then crawl under my crotch and shout Grandpa, I was wrong 3 times. I can let you live. In order to enrage Chui Ku, Yi Zichen had already done everything he could. If Chui Ku still didn't dare to touch him, then he could only say that the human race was invincible. In the future, he could do whatever he wanted. Not even Trillion dared to provoke him. Who would he be afraid of in the ancestral dragon clan? Chui Ku's face changed drastically, and in less than half a minute, his face turned purple. He clenched his fists tightly under his sleeves. His arms trembled violently. Yi Zichen took in all of this. His eyes were filled with ridicule, but in his heart, he was thinking, hurry up and come. Strike me. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Accompanied by Chui Ku's angry shout, the thunderclouds in the void rumbled in an instant. The crowd of onlookers quickly retreated. They retreated more than 10 meters. Die. Rumble. A bolt of red lightning struck down from the sky and swooped towards Yi Zichen like a python. Boom! The red lightning fell to the ground. The crowd watched as red lightning swallowed Yi Zichen, who was still sitting in his chair. After the thunderbolt struck, the surging lightning spread out in all directions, turning Wan's shop into a pool of lightning. Yi Zichen, Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou couldn't help but exclaim. They wanted to rush in, but there seemed to be a layer of seal around the shop. They could only see the lightning in the ruins of the shop, but they couldn't get in. Little did they know that this seal was shockingly Chui Ku's handiwork. He was very clear about the power of the red lightning that he released. If he allowed it to spread, not only would the entire commercial street turn into ruins, but at least the antique street would be destroyed. Although he had 1,000,000,000, he still had to have some concerns. If the entire antique street was turned into ruins, he would need to compensate. This kind of compensation was not something that could be settled with just a few hundred million. It might even cost hundreds of billions. He did not want to waste 100 billion points on such a small matter. Chui Ku. Hua Jianrou stared at the sky and shouted when she saw that the lightning in the shop ruins had yet to dissipate even after a few minutes. "You're dead! You dared to hurt Yi Zichen. I'm going to get my family members to kill you with their own hands." Hua Jianrou's eyes were filled with rage. Bai Yu, who was beside her, had similar emotions. However, she was a rather reserved person, so she didn't threaten Yi Zichen like she did. "Heh!" Chui Ku smiled in disdain. "You guys are humans as well? From your tone, you seem to have quite a background as well. Hurry up and retract your lightning." Hua Jianrou yelled arrogantly. "Hurry up!" It had already been almost 10 minutes, but the lightning had yet to dissipate. As for Yi Zichen, who was inside, he did not move at all. She was very afraid. What happened to Yi Zichen? Useless. Even if I retract the lightning now, he's already dead. What's more, I can't retract it. I might as well just leave them inside and directly turn them into ashes. Otherwise, wouldn't it hurt if I hand them over to you guys? "You little girl, this is the ancestral dragon clan," Chui Ku muttered. Chui Ku muttered. "Since you're in the ancestral dragon clan, you should follow the rules of the ancestral dragon clan. Don't you humans respect the strong? He only has himself to blame. What does it have to do with me? Also, watch your words. Otherwise, you too will die as well." "You're dead, you're dead." Hua Jianrou stretched out her hand and pointed at Chui Ku, who was in the air, then bit her lip hard. "Lil White, we're not doing this trial anymore. What are you two doing?" At that moment, a voice suddenly sounded out from the ruins. "What? Not doing the trial anymore? What did I tell you guys just now? I won't die. Why do you sound like I'm already dead?" All of a sudden, both Chui Ku, the surrounding ancestral dragon clansmen, Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou were shocked. The next moment, all the lightning in the ruins suddenly disappeared as if they'd been absorbed. Meanwhile, Yi Zichen stood by his chair, unscathed, and stretched lazily. "Yi Zichen." Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou smiled in surprise, but the seal was still there, so they couldn't enter. "Seriously, you two? Where's the trust? Where's the most basic trust between us? I've emphasized time and time again that I definitely won't die. Why don't you two believe me?" Yi Zichen sighed helplessly and shook his head. "What? Do you two just want me to die?" "Yeah, I want you to die. Why didn't I strike you?" Hua Jianrou glared at Yi Zichen fiercely. "You're actually asking to be struck by lightning? Are you crazy?" To be honest, it actually feels pretty good." Yi Zichen twisted his neck. The muscles around his body still felt numb, as if an electric current was giving him a massage. "So good." Chui Ku furrowed his brows as well. When he saw that Yi Zichen was safe and sound, he smiled. "Interesting. No wonder you're so fearless. It seems like you have a lot of points on you." Chui Ku's voice sounded out once again. Yi Zichen, who was still smiling at Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou, slowly looked up. "Points? Aren't you thinking too much? I gave all my points to the two of them. How would I have any, say? Is your lightning really okay? It's just SOSO. What? Didn't you eat? Can't you do something a bit more ruthless? This kind of lightning can't even compare to the lightning that my pets in the human race cast? Could it be that a big shot with 1,000,000,000 is less than a dog?" Chapter 2877. The verbal abuse continued. From the very beginning, Yi Zichen stood in the rubble with a disdainful expression. When he looked at Chui Ku, he even pouted. Too bad. This time, he really didn't say it on purpose. It was really that Chui Ku's lightning didn't meet his expectations. There was no threat at all. He didn't even use his godhood power. He simply used his body to block the lightning. If he wanted to, he could absorb all the lightning in 1 second. During this period, he communicated with the elemental spirit and asked him to analyze the nature of the lightning here and see if there was any difference between the lightning here and the lightning of the human race. The result of the analysis was no. It was similar to the lightning of the human race, just that it was slightly purer. They might not even be comparable to the mortal lightning of the secular world. There wasn't much feeling. His body felt like it was being massaged. Brat, you're courting death. Being insulted that he was inferior to a dog, Chui Ku's face burned with rage. I am courting death. Can you kill me? Yi Zichen's voice echoed throughout the entire antique street. His voice wasn't loud, but it was deeply imprinted in the hearts of the ancestral dragon tribesmen. 2F** King Arrogant. After surviving the Trillion-class Big Shot's attack, he didn't say anything. He first scolded the Trillion-class Big Shot and then continued to provoke him. Threatening to die. Countless people could not help but gulp. However, their initial disdain for Yi Zichen was now replaced by respect. At the very least, they weren't confident that they could survive the attacks of trillions of Big Shots. There was a reason why he was so arrogant. This His Majesty of the human race is probably going to make a name for himself with this single battle. Some people discussed in low voices, and they received a lot of acknowledgement. Wasn't that so? When the other majesties of the ancestral dragon clan were still quiet, there was already a majesty of the human clan who had trillions of points. How could such a person not be famous? Now, the question was whether he could survive in the hands of the trillion-dollar boss. If he could survive, that would be unimaginable. Even the young geniuses of the ancestral dragon clan would fight to the death to challenge him. Of course, even if he couldn't survive. At the very least, he was still alive in everyone's hearts. Do you want to be a hero for a second, or do you want to live an ignoble life? Many people chose the latter. The former was destined to become the most dazzling existence. Yi Zichen, what are you doing? Why are you provoking him? Hua Jianro whispered, let's run. What if you really kill us? How can I run? I need to do research. Yi Zichen was not satisfied with the data he got just now. He wanted to see if there were any higher attack mode. At that time, if Wen Li and the rest really wanted to attack the ancestral dragon clan. This was all intelligence. Although they had been to the ancestral dragon clan in the past, how long had it been? Information needed to be updated as well. Brat, if you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Chui Ku roared angrily once again. Yi Zichen waved his hand towards Hua Jianro, by you and company, signaling them to leave, then looked up. Go harder this time, right? Don't act like you can't afford to eat. Hitting people is like scratching an itch. My head is not made of dough. This time, you have to be more accurate. Yi Zichen grinned and laughed maniacally. Suddenly, another bolt of lightning descended from the sky. This time, the lightning seemed to be much more powerful than the red lightning from before. Yi Zichen could also feel it from the sound. When the lightning descended, half of Liberation City was filled with the sound of thunder, causing everyone in the city to subconsciously look towards the direction of the commercial street. Bai Yu and Hua Jianro were worried once again. However, this time, perhaps because Yi Zichen was afraid that they would worry too much, he absorbed all of the lightning in less than half a minute. He was completely fine and had a calm expression on his face. That's it? Yi Zichen tilted his head and laughed, while the crowd outside also exclaimed. He blocked it again. Say, old Chui, can you do it or not? Can't you give me something stronger? Yi Zichen sighed. I don't even want to talk about you anymore. You always say that you want to kill me, but your lightning doesn't work either? How about you change your attack mode? Do you have anything else? Yizichin guessed that. Perhaps because he had an elemental fairy, Chui Ku's attacks were very fierce, but they became obedient in front of the lightning and lightning elemental fairies. The two electric shocks were like tickles to him. You die. Sizzle. Heavenly fire burned in the sky. Seeing that, Yizichin raised his eyebrows. A fire element attack. The scorching flames landed on his body. The fire elemental fairy accepted it. Die. This time, it was an icicle. The water elemental fairy accepted it. From the initial worry, Hua Jianro and Bai Yu started to ignore Yizichin. They finally understood what was going on. Since he had an elemental fairy, he was not afraid of elemental attacks at all. The two of them stood outside and began to discuss the matter of opening a shop. The antique city was destroyed. They had to go and find other shop. Actually, with their current points, it was no longer important whether they opened a shop or not. This was because Bai Yu was extremely passionate about opening a shop. Although they were very relaxed, the surrounding audience had already started to turn into statues. He resisted it. He resisted it. He resisted it again. The trillion-level big shot did teach them a good lesson. From lightning, to fire, to ice, to wind, everything was under his control. However, they posed no threat to Yizichin at all. Is there anything else? Yizichin looked up and asked. He was actually a bit surprised as well. A trillion level could actually activate the 5 element. Phew! Chui Ku's heart was also in turmoil. He had never encountered something like this before. The lightning he was most proud of had no effect. The fire, wind, ice. He had pretty much used all the attacks he could. The only thing that didn't work was earth. Earth spikes. He was no longer as confident after so many failures, but he still wanted face. So many attacks were blocked. And so many spectators. If he didn't kill Yizichin today, then what face would he have left? Chui Ku, who was in the sky, was silent. Then, a long string of numbers suddenly appeared above his head. It started with 6 trillion. Burning points. Yizichin squinted his eyes and muttered to himself. Then, he saw that Chui Ku's points did not continuously decrease like Wei Hu's. Instead, he suddenly decreased by 1 billion. Accumulative skill. Wan gulped, and the onlookers quickly retreated when they saw this scene. The big shot is going to use a pay-to-win skill. Someone in the crowd roared, causing more and more people to retreat. At that moment, Gu Momo, who was squeezed into the crowd, finally stood at the very front. It was also at that moment that he personally saw Yi Ji. Gu Momo bit his lips and shouted. Then, he felt the ground around him tremble. Chernin! I'm here. Chernin walked over. Gu Momo pointed at Yizichin. Isn't that the Lord of the Milky Way? Why didn't you tell me? I didn't notice either. Chernin shook his head. He had been looking at the side of Gu Momo's face the entire time, and never once glanced at Yizichin. The Lord of the Milky Way is in danger. Save him. Gu Momo frowned. How am I supposed to save him? Chernin was stunned. Gu Momo frowned. I want you to save him. Ugh. Chernin scratched his head, then ran towards Yizichin when he saw Gu Momo get angry. Although he didn't know how to save him, there was nothing wrong with taking action. Young master. Chen An's guards and attendants were all shocked. At that moment, the trembling of the ground became stronger and stronger, as if there was an earthquake. Yizichin also knitted his eyebrows, and no longer had the relaxed look from before. Earth spike! Chui Ku roared in the sky. However, at that very moment another finger snap sounded out. The earth spike did not appear. Instead, another handsome man appeared in the sky. Chui Ku, that's too much, right? You'll have to go to jail if you spend another billion. Chapter 2878. Another 1,000 trillion? The spectators in the distance were shocked. What was going on today? Why were the almighty beings that he had never seen in 100 years all here in Liberation City? Originally, when they saw the newcomer flying in the air, they subconsciously thought of 100 billion. But when he thought about how he called Shui Ku's name directly, he reckoned that it was at the level of 1,000,000,000,000. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to do that. Taking a closer look, the person who had just arrived was dressed in a black robe, and he held a feather fan in his hand. However, the look in his eyes was unusually fierce. The handsome man's appearance made people's eyes light up. Su Yan. Someone in the crowd recognized the newcomer. Immediately, many people around them cried out in surprise. Su Yan. Su Yan, who owned a gambling city in the ancestral dragon clan? Rumor had it that he had accumulated more than 1,000,000,000,000 points a long time ago, and he might even have 10 trillion. The earthquake disappeared. If nothing unexpected happened, the disappearance of the earth spikes was closely related to Su Yan. Could he be that young man's backer? Everyone had different thoughts in their hearts. No matter what they thought, Chen En was saved. Just now he felt that the spike was just a centimeter away from his neck, and then it suddenly disappeared. This was also the closest he had ever been to death in his life. Young master. The waiters and guards all ran over, and Gu Momo also followed behind with a somewhat complicated look in his eyes. She seemed to have gone too far just now. I'm fine. Chen En gestured to those people not to mind, and then hurriedly ran in front of Gu Momo. Momo, I can be considered to have saved the Milky Way Lord. I'm so lucky, ha. What Yi Zichen didn't know was that. At that moment, Yi Zichen also felt like he had just survived a disaster. The moment the thorns disappeared, he sat on the chair and panted heavily. He had lost the protection of the elemental spirit. This time, Shui Ku's earth-type attack allowed Yi Zichen to truly feel its might. An attack that could definitely take his life. He repeatedly calmed the uneasiness in his heart and patted his chest with lingering fear. I almost messed up. It was too scary. Yi Zichen tilted his head and looked outside, then saw Chen En and company standing together about 5 meters away from the shop. This brother isn't afraid of death. Yi Zichen merely took a glance, but didn't pay it much attention. He rubbed his chin and wondered if he should continue. Maybe not. Yi Zichen thought for a moment, then felt like he shouldn't continue with the research. His life was more important. Wait, Su Yan. Yi Zichen suddenly recalled that Shui Ku had mentioned a name. He looked up, and there really was an extra person. Su. Master Su? Yi Zichen's pupils instantly contracted, and he instinctively gulped. Why is he here? We have to slip away. They couldn't even deal with one billionaire. Now that the two of them were here together, it would be terrible. In the air, the black-robed Su Yan and the red-robed Shui Ku stared at each other. Su Yan, you've come. Heh, old Shui, it's been a while since we last met. Su Yan smiled warmly. Come visit me when you're free. When I'm free. Shui Ku's answer was lukewarm. He twisted his neck and said, What did you mean just now? Earth spikes. Su Yan smiled. Old Shui, you know very well about the destructive power of a 1,000,000,000 gold mine. If you really use it, then this entire business street will be gone. The public security department turns a blind eye to our trillions, but if you do something like that, then you'll definitely end up in jail. You don't have to worry about that. Shui Ku frowned. Don't be so cold, Su Yan smiled. Su Yan, on the other hand, was all smiles. What happened? What made you so angry? Someone touched my vegetables. Steal again? Su Yan instantly frowned. Old Shui, it's not that I'm scolding you, but isn't it bad for you to steal like this all the time? Other people's points don't just fall from the sky. You have the nerve to scold me? Shui Ku snorted coldly. What about me? Su Yan immediately shrugged. I manage things reasonably, I never steal from anyone. Gambling house? Reasonably? Shui Ku shook his head with a smile. It's fine if you have to say that, but let's not talk about each other. Actually, at our level, we're all stealing, it's just that the methods are different. I'm robbing them openly, but you're letting those gamblers willingly be robbed. That's right. Su Yen declined to comment. You're much worse than me. How many gamblers have lost their families because of you? Su Yen, you've committed a sin. Chui Ku sneered. At least the people I rob are rich, and I leave some money for them. In this way, it seems that I'm much richer than you. There's no point in saying it like that. Su Yen shook his head. Yeah, it's boring. Chui Ku was still indifferent, and the conversation between the two made the onlookers eat a mouthful of melon. The relationship between the $2 billion bosses doesn't seem to be very good. Nonsense, how could it be good? Trillions of bigwigs are all competitors. They can't do anything, right? Stop dreaming. $1 trillion battle in the city? All of Liberation City will be reduced to rubble. The crowd began to discuss among themselves again. Look, the people below are talking about us. Chui Ku, that's enough. Su Yen pointed at the people below and said in a low voice, We're people of status. There's no point in bickering here. You started it, Chui Ku said. Fine, then I'll apologize. Su Yen lowered his head calmly. Chui Ku snorted, hypocritical, TSK? If there's nothing else, then move aside. I still have things to take care of. For him. Su Yen glanced at Yi Zichen. Yes. Can you give him to me? You. Chui Ku frowned. What does he have to do with you? Don't tell me he's one of your people. Did you know that my casino was robbed by someone a while ago? I know. Since they were competitors, Chui Ku would naturally collect this sort of information. It was this brat who robbed it. Su Yen pointed downwards. Su Yen gestured downwards with his lips. I came back for him as well. How much? Chui Ku asked. About 4 billion, Su Yen replied. Su Yen replied, I didn't pay much attention to it. In any case, I emptied one of my gambling houses. Heh, this brat is quite daring, Chui Ku chuckled. Chui Ku chuckled when he heard that. He's lucky enough to have snatched 2 trillion. So, how about giving it to me? Su Yen smiled. Chui Ku didn't deny it. Sure. He didn't mind selling this sort of favor, as long as Yi Zichen died in the end. At the same time, Yi Zichen had already snuck out of the rubble while the two bosses were talking. Retreat, retreat, retreat. Hurry up and leave. Yi Zichen sneaked a peek up. Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou were rather confused. Didn't they have to do research earlier? Why did they suddenly retreat? However, the two of them were in favor of retreating, so they didn't ask too much before following him out. Stop. At that moment, a voice sounded out in the sky. You want to run after robbing my casino? Can you? Chapter 2879. Not good. The big shots are coming for me. Hearing that, Yi Zichen's body trembled. He pretended not to hear anything and quickened his pace. Friend, please ignore my existence. Consider my identity as the human race's majesty and let me live. I will definitely be a good person in the future. Really? I definitely won't mess around with research anymore. I will definitely respect the trillion-level big shot. Ignore me. Ignore me. Yi Zichen muttered as he walked away. He really didn't want to directly clash with the 2 trillion-level big shot. If it was just Chui Ku, he could return the points. Chui Ku, who had suffered so many times, would probably be able to get out of this embarrassing situation. Su Yen came again. Isn't this playing me to death? I really can't take it anymore. Where are you going? Inexplicably, a soft whisper entered his ears. Yi Zichen slowly tilted his head. He saw Su Yen, who was holding a feather fan, following beside him and smiling at him. I can't see. Yi Zichen directly turned around and continued forward with his head lowered. Acting like you can't hear me? Su Yen muttered softly, then pulled Yi Zichen back. You little fellow, what are you doing? Yi Zichen didn't say anything. He merely looked at Su Yen like a mute with confusion in his eyes. You can't understand? Su Yen smiled with interest. Yi Zichen still had the same confused expression. Alright, it seems like it's a defective product. Let's just throw it back into the furnace and reforge it. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Yen closed his fan as well. All of a sudden, Yi Zichen, whose eyes were filled with confusion, quickly changed his expression. Are you talking to me? Respect, humility. That was Yi Zichen's current state. This scene caused everyone to turn pale with fright. How did this person, who was so arrogant just now, suddenly become so obedient? Afraid of Lord Su? That Chui Ku is also a trillion level. Why is he yelling at me like that? Heh! Su Yen chuckled. I can understand. Senior, do you need something? Yi Zichen's eyes were filled with confusion. I just arrived. My big brother was the one controlling the body. We were fighting for control of the body just now, so I didn't notice what Senior said. Big brother? Su Yen was stunned. Yes. Yi Zichen's tone was like that of a well-behaved child. I have two souls in one body. Previously, I was the one who controlled the body. However, when I came to the ancestral dragon tribe, my brother knocked me out and I just woke up. Bai Yu and Hua Jianro, who were standing at the back, slowly had a bunch of question marks in their mind. What happened to Fatty 4? Two souls in one body. Brother? How come they had never heard of it before? Why are you in control? Su Yen was puzzled. This has something to do with our personalities. My brother is more arrogant and likes to offend people. He's also very impolite when doing things. It's very easy for him to offend other people like that, so I have to fight for control. Otherwise, what if he got into trouble? Fortunately, I haven't been unconscious for long, so there shouldn't be any accident. Is that so? Then I might have to disappoint you. Su Yen laughed for no reason. He squinted his eyes and said, Your brother has caused quite a bit of trouble in the ancestral dragon clan. Ah! Yi Zichen was shocked. Look at the ruins behind you, and the red-clothed man in the sky. Your brother cut off their source of wealth. Cutting off a person's source of wealth is like killing their parent. Su Yen muttered. Really? Yi Zichen's eyes were filled with apology and innocence. I didn't even know. How could he do something like that? Then I have to make it up to him? I really didn't know. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. Su Yen watched this scene with a smile. He licked his lips and nodded. Actually, I'm one of the victims too. Your brother, he robbed my casino and stole several billion points from me. Really? Yi Zichen's eyes were filled with shock. Then, can I return your points? I'll apologize to you on behalf of my brother. Do you know what points are? Su Yen suddenly squinted his eyes. Didn't you just say that your brother knocked you unconscious when you came to the ancestral dragon clan? You just woke up, so how did you know about points? Screw you. You tricked me. Yi Zichen instantly cursed in his heart. Could it be that Su Yen saw through it? Could it be that the ancestral dragon clan didn't know what it meant to have two souls in one body, so they thought he was faking it? He was at a disadvantage because of his lack of culture. The ancestral dragon clan's culture level was a bit low, but since he'd already gotten this far, he had to keep up the act. I'm my brother's twin brother, so I know a few things that happened when he took control of his body. Su Yen revealed a look of understanding. Then, since you know about points, why don't you know what he did? This guy was definitely doing it on purpose. It seems like our little twin brother isn't as cute as he looks. Su Yen pinched Yi Zichen's cheek. F***CKU. Yi Zichen nearly went mad. He was someone who'd lived for several hundred years. Back on Earth, there were 18 generations under the same roof. Someone pinched his cheek. Just the thought of it disgusted him. How about I just fight them? That thought surfaced in Yi Zichen's mind. In any case, he had the 5 elements of heaven and earth elemental spirit. As long as they didn't use the 5 elements of earth, he could resist them. No. How could he withstand the attacks of a big shot with 2 trillion? Little brother isn't going to say anything? Su Yan smiled. It seems like little brother wants to sneak away. Unfortunately, you can't. Chui Ku has been watching you from up there. He wants to kill you no matter if you're the older or younger brother. Can't I compensate him? Yi Zichen muttered. No. Su Yan shook his head. What he lost isn't as simple as just points. It's face. Only by killing you can he regain his face. Of course. If you have a backer that prevents him from killing you, that's fine too. There's no need for you to say that. Yi Zichen really wanted to roll his eyes. If he had such a backer, then even if he had to fight Su Yan, he'd jump up and fight. It seems like little brother got scared. Su Yan squinted his eyes and smiled, then let out a long sigh. Actually, I can choose whether or not to kill you when I come back. But before that, you need to answer a few questions of mine. Please speak. Yi Zichen quickly replied. Do you know Zhulinglong? Su Yan frowned, then changed his words when he saw Yi Zichen's expression. She's the human race's nine-faced hegemon. I do. What's her relationship with you? My older sister. Speak the truth. Su Yan's gaze suddenly darkened. Think carefully before you answer. If you answer wrongly, I'll find a good place to bury you. Chapter 2880. These big shots. Why do they like to threaten people so much? As Yi Zichen looked at Su Yan's dark eyes, he truly suspected that if he didn't give a satisfactory answer, then Su Yan might actually rape him. Is this answer very important? Yi Zichen asked in a testing manner. If he were to place his life in the hands of an answer, it would definitely be the worst decision. He felt that he still needed to maneuver a little. If he could save his life with points, it would definitely be safer to use them. Such worldly possessions were not important. Brat, do you think you're qualified to discuss with me? A smile lingered in Su Yan's eyes, but there was definitely killing intent hidden beneath that smile. A smiling tiger. This was the kind of person they were talking about. He always seemed to be smiling, but deep down, he was more sinister than anyone else. If you're not paying attention, he might stab you. Either that, they would turn hostile at any moment. The nine-faced hegemon is my sister. Yi Zichen took a deep breath, then said helplessly, She's your sister? In an instant, Su Yan's imposing aura suddenly rose. Yi Zichen instinctively furrowed his brows and secretly adjusted his godhead's power. Enemies? Yi Zichen's gaze darkened as countless thoughts raced through his mind. With the nine-faced overlord's personality, it was not strange for him to leave some enemies in the ancestral dragon clan. However, Yi Zichen's head hurt. He was already miserable enough, and he even stole the other party's points. Now, there was this layer of relationship. Damn it. Yi Zichen's gaze darkened, then he slowly looked up. Yes. Is there a problem? He still gave an affirmative answer. Although Su Yan's threat was very threatening, Yi Zichen wasn't so cowardly that he would betray his older sister just to save his own life. Although he did not have much contact with the nine-faced overlord. However, Yi Zichen could sense how well she treated him. Furthermore, when they'd entered the ancestral dragon clan, Yi Zichen couldn't help but wonder. It was also the points she gave him for the accommodation. Although those points were not much now, it was countless times better to provide help in times of need than icing on the cake. Your sister. She's actually your sister. Kid, you've really found yourself a good sister. Su Yan's tone turned darker and darker, while his expression darkened, as if he wanted to skin Yi Zichen alive. What are you doing? Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou felt that the atmosphere wasn't right and rushed over. This is none of your business. Su Yan raised his hand, and Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou were instantly sealed in a small space that was less than 5 square meters. Seeing this, Yi Zichen's expression drastically changed. Don't hurt them. If you have something to say, come at me. What's the point of bullying two women? Yi Zichen's eyes spewed fire as he shouted towards Su Yan. Heh! Su Yen maintained his cold expression in response to Yi Zichen's anger. You! I came for you in the first place, didn't I? The surrounding ancestral dragon clansmen held their breath. It seemed like they were wrong. Su Yen didn't come here to save the kid who provoked Shui Ku at all. There seemed to be a personal grudge between them. What the hell is this kid doing? Provoking 2 trillions? Maybe he's courting death. $2 trillion bosses want to deal with him. Even a hero can't save him. Looks like this kid is finished. Everyone knew how to read a person's expression. From Su Yan's tone and expression, as well as his actions, it was clear that he wanted to take Yi Zichen's life. Yi-ji. Gu Momo bit her lips and looked towards Yi Zichen worriedly. She subconsciously looked towards Chen An's direction. However, she didn't dare to ask Chen An to step forward after the dangerous scene just now. Oh no. Gu Momo's heart was filled with worry. She was now a little resentful of her own helplessness. She didn't know how to solve any problems she encountered, so she always wanted Chen An to solve them for her. Momo, what's wrong? Noticing that Gu Momo's expression was not quite right, Chen An asked with concern. Then, he noticed Yi Zichen, who was caught by Su Yen, from where Gu Momo was looking. Let go of the Milky Way, Lord. Instantly, Chen An didn't even give it any thought before raising his hand and shouting at Su Yen in an arrogant manner. He didn't think too much about it. All he thought was that Gu Momo was definitely worried about the Milky Way Lord situation, and he didn't want to see Gu Momo like that the most. He needed to step forward. Young master. One of Chen An's guards pulled him back. The current situation clearly wasn't something they should interfere with. This wasn't their empire, and it was best for the ancestral dragon clan to know their place. Let go. Chen An grunted coldly, and then he walked towards Su Yen with large strides. I told you to let go of the Milky Way, Lord. Did you hear me? And who are you? Stay where you are. With a light flick of Su Yan's finger, Chen An felt his head being struck by a tremendous force, and his entire body was sent flying outwards. Then, when he tried to get up, he realized he couldn't move. Young master. The guards wanted to go up, but they found they couldn't move either. Yi Zichen frowned and looked at the youth behind him. I don't remember him. I don't think I've seen him anywhere before. He's probably here to participate in the trial as well. Does he want to get on good terms with me? Or perhaps he sees injustice and wants to help. In any case, Yi Zichen will remember this favor. As for how to repay him in the future, he'll think about it later. What's more, he was like a clay bodhisattva crossing a river. Whether or not Su Yen and Shui Ku could get past him was another matter. You're the Milky Way Lord? Su Yen squinted his eyes and smiled coldly. I know of a Milky Way Lord. He's sort of my teacher, replied Yi Zichen. Oh, you actually know the Milky Way Lord as well. Oh, you actually know the Master of the Galaxy. Kid, it seems like you're going to die here. Su Yen suddenly raised his hand. With a lightning-fast movement, he pressed his palm towards Yi Zichen's face. Yi Zichen subconsciously tried to use his Godhead's power. To his surprise, Su Yen pinched his face. Screw you! Pinched again. Yi Zichen was truly annoyed. What was the difference between this and insulting him? Your sister tricked 4 trillion out of me. Did you know about this? Boom. Yi Zichen was completely stunned. 40 billion? F***CK. This is probably going to turn into a blood feud. Just what did the 9-faced hegemon do all those years ago? She actually stole 4 trillion from Su Yen? Just now I called her my sister. She's hopeless. Cool. The Milky Way Lord took 7 trillion from me. He said he'd return it to me, but he still hasn't. Before long, Su Yen tossed out another bombshell. When Yi Zichen heard this, he only had one thought. Let it end here. Destroy yourself. Chapter 2881. 11 trillion in debt. Were they going to blame it all on him? What were the Milky Way Master and 9-faced Overlord doing? Why didn't they settle the score after taking points from others? He was puzzled. After leaving behind a huge debt, he ran away and became a big shot of the human race with a clear conscience. After that, he came to the ancestral dragon tribe to train and got caught. How unjust! Yi Zichen felt like he'd been wrongly accused, even more so than Do-E's. Let's not talk about other things. Guang didn't borrow much, but he ended up with a huge debt. What was he doing? Speaking of which, Su Yan, you're rather simple-minded. You gave away a few trillion just like that? How did you get your points so quickly? But the Milky Way Master had been in the ancestral dragon tribe for a long time. Su Yan was there back then, and it was already a trillion? He couldn't be any more exaggerated right now. No matter how much Yi Zichen slandered him in his heart, he definitely couldn't say it out loud. Heh! Yi Zichen chuckled dryly, then pondered about how to get past this. Hey, they took quite a lot. Yeah, 11 trillion. He definitely took quite a lot. Su Yan smiled noncommittally. If that's the case, then we can also be considered related. Yi Zichen thought for a moment, then an idea suddenly surfaced in his mind. Oh? You see, if you can lend 7 trillion to the Master of the Galaxy, it means that you have a good relationship with my master. Otherwise, who would lend so much money for no reason? Continue. Yi Zichen rubbed his nose and coughed. That's what I'm thinking. You have a good relationship with my master, so we're relatives. I can contact my master and return the points to you when the time comes. It's indeed his fault for not returning the points he owes. As his disciple, I can't stand it anymore. Yi Zichen said seriously. Still? Yes, we must definitely return it. Yi Zichen nodded. We humans have an old saying, it's only right to pay back what you owe. Now that you mention the old saying, I thought of something. Su Yan suddenly spoke. What is it? Your master mentioned to me before that there's an old saying that goes like this: a son pays his father's debts, and a teacher for a day is a father for life. If that's the case, do you think? 3 question marks popped up in Yi Zichen's mind. What did the Master of the Galaxy mean? Moreover, wasn't this ancient saying from Earth? How did he know about it? Or so many years ago? Then, should I return it? Yi Zichen played along. That seemed to be what he meant. What do you think? Su Yan smiled spuriously. Grandpa Su, if you really think that I need to pay it back, then I'm willing to. Yi Zichen clenched his teeth. I'll take this 7 trillion and my sister's 4 trillion. I'll pay it back. What was this called? Retreat in order to advance. It doesn't matter if you use your points to pressure me, I'll accept it. This debt is mine. So, if you want me to return the points, you can't let me die. You have to ensure that I grow up happily and safely. This was like a bank loan. Those who owed the bank hundreds of millions of yuan were the ancestors of the bank, and the bank even had to send some gifts to them during the holidays. He was afraid that something might happen to you. That was Yi Zichen's current state. If you want me to return points, you have to let me live. Ha 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 ha. For some reason, Su Yan laughed towards Yi Zichen. Good brat, you sure think fast. Do you think that I can't kill you if I want you to return points? Heh. Yi Zichen smiled, but did not retort. Alright, go. Suddenly, Su Yan let out a long sigh, then shrugged towards Yi Zichen with a smile. Let me go. Yi Zichen looked at Su Yan in confusion. It worked? Could it be that his scheme had succeeded? Why doesn't it feel like it? I can really leave? Let's go. Su Yan waved his hand and directly made way, while also undoing Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou's seals. The 2 girls immediately ran to Yi Zichen's side. Su Yan laughed softly when he saw that, then shrugged. Your sister, your master, and you. The 3 of you. Do you really think that I'm easy to bully? You only know how to screw me over. Hurry up and leave. Don't forget that you owe me 11 trillion. With that, Su Yan turned around and walked into the sky without taking another glance at Yi Zichen. Yi Hua Jianrou, who didn't really understand the situation, frowned. Why do you owe him 11 trillion? Don't care about that. Hurry up and leave. Yi Zichen didn't want to stay there for another second. However, there was something that he was rather confused about. Why didn't he ask for my points? He actually didn't mention that I robbed his casino of several billion, and he didn't mention Chui Ku's points either. What is this? Did he forget? Or did he look down on this bit of points, and disdain to ask for them? But this is still enough to make up for the debt. Did he expect Yi Zichen to directly give him 11 trillion? If he really had those points, Yi Zichen was serious, he would fight him. We're both billion-dollar big shots. Why would I be afraid of you? I'm not going to return your points. If you don't like it, then let's fight. Shit. Yi Zichen muttered, but his feet didn't stop moving at all. For some reason, he looked behind him once again. He shouldn't kill me. Yi Zichen rubbed his chin and thought that His Majesty, who spoke up for her, shouldn't be in any trouble, so he ran for his life without looking back. Stop! At that moment, Chui Ku shouted angrily in the sky. Just as he was about to chase after Yi Zichen, he was stopped by Su Yan. Su Yan? Ol Chui, give me some face and let him go. Su Yan squinted his eyes and smiled. Give you some face? Chui Ku frowned and looked at Su Yan. Su Yan, I already gave you enough face. You said that this brat had a grudge with you, so I let you have him. Now you're actually letting him go? What's going on? He can't die. Su Yan sighed. Can't die? He's carrying a debt of 11 trillion. If he dies, who am I going to make pay for it? He has to live. Su Yan, that's boring, right? Chui Ku's gaze instantly darkened as he laughed coldly. Do you think I'm easy to fool? No, you're also at the trillion level. How could I possibly fool you? Su Yan said sincerely. He truly owes me 11 trillion. He can't die. If you don't believe me, you can go to the Heaven and Earth Trading Company to buy information. Let them tell you if this is true or false. No need, Chui Ku laughed coldly. I'm going to kill this brat today. Are you going to stop me? What do you think? Su Yan's expression was still as gentle as ever, but his tone was unusually firm. You definitely won't be able to do anything to him with me here. Chapter 2882. Su Yan. Chui Ku. Boom. In an instant, the sky changed color. A line seemed to be drawn between Su Yan and Chui Ku, and the space behind them turned crimson red and dark purple. Domineering aura. The ancestral dragon clansman looked at the changing color of the sky and could not help but prostrate on the ground. Su Yan, you insist on stopping me. It's not that I insist on stopping you, it's that you insist on destroying my path to riches. Su Yan narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, I've already told you very clearly. This person owes me points, so he can't die. But you insist on killing him. 11 trillion, do you think I will let you touch him? Don't think that I don't know what you are thinking? Chui Ku's gaze was gloomy, and his eyes that seemed like a poisonous tongue stared fixedly at Su Yan who stood before him. Up to you. On the other hand, Su Yan's gaze was relaxed. You should know that I need to accumulate points. Let's fight here and see who can outlast the other. Su Yan. Chui Ku suddenly let out a furious roar in the air, using points to suppress him. He was a trillion-level person, yet he was being humiliated using points. Domineering aura. It was actually a higher level of burning point. The color behind them was the number of points they had. If they were to fight, Chui Ku's points would definitely be used up first, regardless of whether he was willing to admit it. Although he also had 1 trillion points, he was definitely not on the same level as Su Yan. You want to fight me? Chui Ku roared. If you want, I will accompany you to the end. Instantly, the points above Su Yan's head lit up. There was a total of 17 trillion, causing the ancestral dragon clansmen to hold their breath. Chui Ku's gaze turned solemn. 17 trillion. His entire wealth was actually only this much, but he knew very well that Su Yen had actually thrown most of his wealth into the gambling house's gambling pool. If he drew out all his points from the gambling pool and chose to fight Su Yen to the death, then even with a ratio of 2-1, he still wouldn't be a match for Su Yen. "What are you guys doing?" At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. He was wearing a white robe and exuded a righteous aura. "Justice! Lord of Justice!" The clansmen of the ancestral dragon clan hurriedly prostrated themselves upon seeing this. "Greetings, hero!" His voice echoed throughout the entire commercial street. Everyone's hearts were filled with shock. $2 billion bosses had come to the small liberation city, and now even the Master of Justice had come. If he was not mistaken, the God of Justice had probably left the hero's altar for the sake of these $2 billion big shots. If Trillion really wanted to make a move, the entire liberation city could easily be razed to the ground. Su Yen, Chui Ku, both of you are the possessors of a trillion in your clan. Could it be that both of you have forgotten the rules of the ancestral dragon clan? The white-robed Lord of Justice growled. "Master of Justice." When Su Yen and Chui Ku, who were already at loggerheads with each other, saw the God of Justice, they both withdrew their domineering auras and cupped their hands lightly. "Master of Justice, you can't blame me for this." Su Yen hurriedly shrugged. Chui Ku insisted on causing trouble. "I couldn't do anything about it." Chui Ku. "God of Justice, please make a decision." Chui Ku lowered his head, and the God of Justice narrowed his eyes at the two of them. "I already know what happened between the two of you." The Lord of the Milky Way stole Chui Ku's points, but Chui Ku, you can't kill him. He is the highness of the human clan. Just like the emissary that the human clan sent here. Who gave you the right to commit murder here? Chui Ku lowered his head and said nothing. In front of a hero, $1 billion big shot was still too far away. "Master of Justice, do I have to just accept it? I won't kill him, but I still have to get my points back." However, Su Yen colluded with that human clan and maliciously let that human clan kid go. How can I not be angry? From the beginning to the end, Chui Ku had a disdainful expression. Tell on him? He really didn't care. Have you made a deal? Seeing that Chui Ku didn't say anything else, Su Yen shrugged slightly and whispered to the God of Justice, "Master of Justice, please make a decision. Does that youngster owe me 11 trillion? Did he personally promise to repay me?" "Yes." The God of Justice nodded noncommittally. Instantly, Chui Ku's expression changed drastically. He knew that he had probably lost this time. Based on the God of Justice's nature, he would definitely let him keep the peace in the end. "Master of Justice, you know the importance of 11 trillion. To heroes like you, points are nothing, but to people like us, points are our lives. I can't let Chui Ku kill a debt of 11 trillion. Furthermore, Chui Ku used a pay-to-win skill in the city. Please consider this." Su Yen even mentioned the pay-to-win skill. Chui Ku pursed his lips and clenched his fists tightly. "Chui Ku, did you use it?" "I did." "Very good. You disregarded the ancestral dragon clan's rules and used a pay-to-win skill in the city." The God of Justice's expression turned ugly. However, he was in charge of justice and would not be biased towards anyone. "Su Yen, Chui Ku needs to be compensated for his losses." "I'll give it to him." Su Yen took out a contribution stone from his pocket without another word. "Here are 10 billion points. Actually, I wanted to give it to Chui Ku from the start, but he never gave it to me. 10 billion as compensation should be enough." "Enough!" Without waiting for Chui Ku to speak, the God of Justice made the final decision. "Chui Ku, take this 10 billion as compensation." "Yes." Chui Ku held the points in his hand. Then, the God of Justice looked at the destroyed antique street. "Whoever damaged this street will compensate. I will pay attention to this matter for the next 3 days. Chui Ku, using a pay-to-win skill in the city will reduce your total assets by 5%. Do you have any objections?" "No." Chui Ku clenched his teeth and shook his head. Su Yen, Chui Ku, using hockey in the city has violated the ancestral Dragon Clan's security laws. Your total assets will be reduced by 3%. Do you have any objections? No. Submit the points to the city's security department. This matter will end here. Yes. The two cupped their hands and watched as the white-robed god of justice suddenly disappeared in front of them. Chui Ku, why did you do this? You were reduced by 8% and I was also reduced by 3%. Don't you think it's a loss? Su Yen sighed helplessly. Chui Ku's expression was indeed cold. Su Yen, don't be too proud. You won this time, but next time, it might not be the same. Chui Ku directly stepped into the void and left. Su Yen looked at his back silently. He pursed his lips and smiled. Then, he snapped his fingers. Chen Un and the rest, who could not move, regained their freedom. As for Su Yen, he also stepped into the void and disappeared from this world. Chapter 2883. Let me tell you, when we went to buy a shop just now, we ran into a big scene. As soon as they returned to the hotel, Hua Jianrou couldn't help wanting to say something. Yi Zichen pulled her back to tell her to stop. He wanted to say everything. Su Yen and Xia Kiki were both here. If he told them what happened just now, wouldn't they be worried? What are you doing? Hua Jianrou frowned and glanced at him. Everyone else in the hotel was curious. What happened? By the way, have you bought the shop? Yes, this is the title deed. Hua Jianrou slammed the deed onto the table, then started to smile. Let me tell you guys. Ahem, ahem, ahem. Yi Zichen coughed intensely in order to make Hua Jianrou calm down a bit. Go outside and cough. Hua Jianrou didn't seem to appreciate it at all. She was still immersed in her own thoughts. Let me tell you, just now, Yi Zichen coughed once again. Hua Jianrou tilted her head and looked at him for a long time. What? You're not letting me say it? You dare to do it, but you don't dare to let me say it. What is it? What did Big Brother Zichen do? Xia Kiki's eyes were filled with curiosity. He was acting cute just now. Hua Jianrou shouted in front of Yi Zichen's threatening gaze. Acting cute? Everyone in the hotel was confused. Even Su Luer joined in on the gossip. On the other hand, Yi Zichen was rather surprised. That's what she wanted to talk about? Let me ask, does Yi Zichen have two souls in one body? Hua Jianrou asked. Everyone looked towards Su Yen and Xia Kiki. The two of them had known Yi Zichen the longest and interacted with him the most, so they should know. Two souls in one body? Xia Kiki frowned. Isn't that Sun Yaij? Zichen Gij isn't her. Alright, I'll tell you. Hua Jianrou laughed and clapped her hand. You guys didn't see it. Yi Zichen just told people that he has two souls in one body. Then, he pretended to be the younger brother and talked to others with an innocent face. Oh my, that's so cute. As she spoke, Hua Jianrou vividly recreated the scene at that time. Even Bai Yu was a bit amazed by her ability to perform a duet. Perfect copy. It was as if they were carved from the same mold. Am I that disgusting? Halfway through, Yi Zichen couldn't bear to listen any longer. Little White. Hua Jianrou glanced at him, and Bai Yu nodded vigorously. Exactly the same. Yi Zichen couldn't help but scratch his head as he felt a bit nauseous. How could he be so disgusting? Let me tell you, after that, his face was even pinched by that Su Yen. It really made me laugh to death. He pinched it quite a few times. Hua Jianrou burst out laughing in the living room. Meng Luo looked at Yi Zichen in shock. Great God, your face was pinched? Can you stop talking? I want to die. Yi Zichen covered his face. He was too ashamed to face anyone. He could tolerate all these acts of acting cute and cute. Pinching his face. This incident would probably leave a shadow in his heart. Why would such a thing happen? On the other hand, when Su Yen heard all this, she didn't notice Yi Zichen's comical side. She understood Yi Zichen. If he hadn't run into a situation he couldn't handle, he wouldn't have done this. Ah, I ran into some trouble. Yi Zichen knew very well that with Su Yan's understanding of him, she wouldn't believe him if he said that nothing happened. So, he might as well just start like that. That way, she would be able to accept it more. Ah, what trouble! All of a sudden, everyone in the hotel revealed shocked expressions. I'll tell you a piece of unfortunate news. I'm currently in debt of 11 trillion points. Yi Zichen smiled wryly. How much? Meng Luo opened her eyes wide in shock. 11 trillion. Everyone else also revealed shocked expressions. Xia Kiki even walked up and touched Yi Zichen's head. Zichenji, don't mess around. 11 trillion, not 110,000? Not 110 million? It really is 11 trillion, Yi Zichen said helplessly. Actually, I don't owe him these points, it's… Then Yi Zichen told them about the relationship between the nine-faced overlords, the master of the galaxy and Su Yan. Everyone revealed a speechless expression when they heard that. This should be counted as an undeserved calamity. What else could I do? I definitely don't want to take on so many points, so I wanted to pretend. Unfortunately, they didn't fall for it. In the end, I had to take on the debt before they let me go. Yi Zichen shrugged. In other words, you're a pauper now. At that moment, a sudden question sounded out from the hotel. Blue Lotus Fairy. She was probably the only one who could ask such a realistic question at a time like this. What do you mean? I don't have any more points. What do you want? Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. I'm just asking, Blue Lotus Fairy shrugged. Blue Lotus Fairy shrugs her shoulders. Didn't you promise to give me 30,000 a day? I have to ask. Then I really am a pauper now. What do I do? Yi Zichen shrugged. You really don't have any more? That's it. Not even a bit? We have to get back Meng Luo's and the others' points later. Then we'll pay them back. Blue Lotus Fairy's expression instantly froze. No more points. Did retribution come so quickly? For some reason, Blue Lotus Fairy actually wanted to laugh. You're a pauper from now on, right? Fairy Blue Lotus chuckled. Yes. Then go and pour me a cup of water. Blue Lotus Fairy suddenly straightened her back and indicated towards Yi Zichen. Huh? Hurry up and pour me a cup of water, Blue Lotus Fairy glared. Pour me a cup of water, then I can pay for your room for a day. My legs are a bit sore as well. If you massage my legs, then I can pay for your food as well. You're not leaving? Yi Zichen was a bit surprised. Why do I have to leave? Blue Lotus Fairy shrugged. I rather like your place here. Why would I have to leave? Are you going to pour me a cup of water or not? Pay for the room. How long can your points last if you squander them like this? Money disperses and comes back. Blue Lotus Fairy smiled in a very unladylike manner. Blue Lotus Fairy grinned in a very unladylike manner. One day is one day, why are you thinking so much? Lil Yezi, go and pour a cup of water for Big Sister. Big Sister will buy snacks for you. You silly woman. Yi Zichen couldn't help but pinch her cheek. Blue Lotus Fairy instantly opened her eyes wide and blushed a little. She had never been pinched on the cheek before. How dare you? Don't live here. There's no place for you here. Beauty, this house is still mine, right? Yi Zichen smiled wryly. Blue Lotus Fairy raised her eyebrows and glanced at him. All right, then don't stay tomorrow. We'll talk about it tomorrow. At that moment, someone suddenly knocked on the door of the room. Mr. Yi. There's a gentleman outside who wants to see you. Chapter 2884. Looking for me? Yi Zichen, who was standing in front of the door, was stunned. Su Yan. Chui Ku. No matter which one of them came looking for him, it wouldn't be a good thing. Chui Ku was determined to take his life. Although Su Yan had let Yi Zichen go in the end, he was a smiling tiger. Compared to Chui Ku, Yi Zichen was actually more afraid of Su Yan. But on second thought, if it was really a person of a trillion, would the hotel staff dare to be negligent? Probably not. Moreover, with Trillion's personality, It was impossible for them to wait outside. They would have charged in long ago. In that case, Yi Zichen felt much more at ease. What does the person look like? A man with a medium build, sharp eyebrows and long hair. He looks quite friendly. The hotel waiter replied. I don't remember. Yi Zichen searched his mind for a long time, but couldn't find anything that matched the description. Not to mention the others, just this man with a long braid. As for this, he had no impression at all. Take me there. Alan followed him in silence. Yi Zichen glanced at him, but said nothing. Actually, after coming to the ancestral dragon tribe, the guards were no longer important. Without points, even if Alan was a duke in the human universe, she was no different from an ordinary person here. A few minutes later, the hotel's lounge area. A man with long braids sat by the window, his eyes fixed on the various sights outside. From Yi Zichen's perspective, it seemed as if he were one with the world. An expert. The taciturn Alan suddenly uttered 2 words. To be able to make a person like him, who couldn't say a word for a week, suddenly say 2 words, it showed how terrifying this person with long braids was. As for the expert Alan was referring to, Yi Zichen had no idea whether it was someone from the ancestral dragon clan with high points or a human expert. Hello. Yi Zichen walked up to the braided man, then sat directly across from him. You're looking for me. Forgive my rudeness, but I don't think I've seen you before. You are the Galactic Lord. The person with the long braid shook her head and smiled. I didn't expect that the person I'm looking for is actually you. When Yi Zichen heard this inexplicable opening, his head felt like mush. From the sound of it, he didn't seem to know Yi Zichen was the Milky Way Lord before he came. Or perhaps he didn't know Yi Zichen was the Milky Way Lord before he came looking for him. Hello. I come from the human race, an ascetic. You can call me Xianqing. I don't have a star domain. I was invited here as a guest. The man with the long braids smiled warmly. Hello. Yi Zichen nodded in return. You are a human sovereign? You can say yes, but you can also say no. Xianqing shrugged. Actually, I'm not too sure about my own strength. People say that I'm an overlord, but I don't feel it. Damn it. I've met another pretentious prick. If he had brought Fairy Blue Lotus over, the 2 of them would definitely have had a fight. One was a supremacy who casually cultivated. The other said he didn't know his own strength. People said he was an overlord, but he didn't feel it. Ha! Don't overthink things, Galactic Lord. I'm telling the truth. I really don't feel like an overlord, because I haven't even condensed a divine soul yet. Xianqing laughed bitterly. When he heard this explanation, Yi Zichen was somewhat astonished. If he hadn't condensed a divine soul, how could he possess the strength of an overlord? According to the universe's classification of strength, after condensing a divine soul, one was at the titled level. After that, one's divine soul broke through bit by bit to become a marquis, a duke, and then a king. But now he said he didn't have a divine soul. Senior Xianqing, the fact that you were invited to the ancestral dragon clan means that they acknowledge your strength. You're a lecturer, which proves that you're at least a supreme, said Yi Zichen. I'm not here to teach, denied Xianqing. Xianqing denied. I just said that I was invited here as a guest. A guest? Yi Zichen frowned. That's right, I'm just here as a guest. Xianqing shrugged. In truth, I'm quite confused myself. Why exactly did I come here? I've been here for almost a month now, but no one has come looking for me. However, I really like the lifestyle here. It's a pretty good place to relax. So there was something like that? Yi Zichen couldn't help but be astonished. He hadn't been invited here to study, nor was he here to teach. He'd simply come as a guest, but no one had come to see him. Senior, you're quite special. That's right, you're quite special. Xianqing sighed. In truth, Yi Zichen had been waiting for Xianqing to tell him why he'd come here, but even after chatting for so long, Xianqing hadn't brought it up. Senior. Is there something you need from me? Yi Zichen couldn't help but ask. I almost forgot. When he heard Yi Zichen mention it, Xian Qing smiled apologetically. I'm actually here to warn you about something. What is it? Don't use the power of a godhead carelessly. Yi Zichen instantly froze in his seat. Ailin knit her brows, as if she were about to attack. Don't be so nervous. Relax. Xian Qing raised his hand. Senior, you. What did you mean just now? The power of a godhead. Possessing a godhead was his secret. How did Xian Qing know? What's more, he'd come looking for him. You know full well. Xian Qing smiled. In truth, you don't need to ask. I've already said it so bluntly, haven't I? Don't be hostile. I'm here to warn you out of goodwill. In truth, we're the same kind of people. As soon as Xian Qing finished speaking, Yi Zichen sensed a strand of godhead power reach out to him. Before long, the strand of power disappeared. Senior, you. Now you know, right? Xian Qing smiled warmly. I sensed the fluctuations of divine power the day before, so I went to the restaurant to find you. However, by the time I got there, you'd already left. Just now, I sensed you release your divine power, so I wanted to see you. However, when I got there, you were in the middle of something, so I couldn't show myself. But to my surprise, the Milky Way Lord. Turns out he's a god. Senior, why are you surprised? From Xian Qing's tone, it was clear that he wasn't surprised that he'd run into another god. Rather, he was surprised that Yi Zichen was a god, but also a Milky Way Lord. Why are you surprised? Xian Qing pressed his lips into a smile. Because the Milky Way Lord was one of the planners of the human race's second attack on the God race. Chapter 2885. I heard that you are a student of the Master of the Galaxy, or rather, a seed left behind by the Master of the Galaxy. Xian Qing rested her chin on one hand and looked out the window. Yes. Yi Zichen, who sat across from him, had long since lost his calm. He was completely immersed in Xian Qing's words. The Master of the Galaxy. One of the planners of the annihilation of the Protoss. That's why I'm not surprised. He advocated the annihilation of the God race, but in the end, the seeds left behind were the God race. How strange. Xian Qing muttered. Yi Zichen sat silently across from him. One could already sense the uneasiness in his heart from his pupils. How could this be? Why would the Master of the Galaxy make such a plan? In his eyes, was the God race also a threat to the human race? Therefore, it had to be removed as soon as possible. Impossible. If he really thought that way, why did he choose himself? Could it be? He'd never guessed Yi Zichen was a god. If the Milky Way Master knew about this, would he kill him and all the Protoss in the Milky Way? Impossible. Yi Zichen lost control of his emotions and shouted. Senior, you must be joking. The Master of the Galaxy was one of the planners of the celestial race's annihilation. How do you know all this? Who knows? At this time, Xian Qing's answers were starting to become unclear. She kept smiling as she looked out the window. I forgot how I found out. Xian Qing, who was looking out the window, slowly turned around and smiled at Yi Zichen. What's your impression of the Master of the Galaxy? Righteous, the protector of the human race, the Devil King who terrorizes the outer realms, a good man. This was indeed Yi Zichen's impression of the Master of the Galaxy. Of course, he didn't know it directly. He heard it from many people who knew the Master of the Galaxy. You're right. Xian Qing didn't comment on Yi Zichen's answer. However, the Milky Way Master is a terrifying person. Scary? Yi Zichen frowned. Since you're a fellow Protoss, I'll just casually tell you. Of course, you can choose not to believe me. I'm just casually telling you, not to make you believe me. Xian Qing smiled warmly. Do you know that the Milky Way Master colluded with outsiders? Isn't this slander by Star Lord Songyue? Yi Zichen frowned. Slander? Star Lord Songyue is a boorish fellow. He was once a general under the Milky Way Master. Ever since he managed the Tsangyue galaxy, he learned some of the schemes of the universe, but he is not despicable enough to slander his benefactor. Xian Qing said softly. He wasn't despicable enough to slander his benefactor? Yi Zichen was confused. In his memory, almost everyone thought that the Master of the Galaxy was part of Tsangyue's plan. Wenli did not hesitate to go to war with the Tsangyue galaxy for revenge. Moreover, many of the things he did were indeed not good. Star-Lord Tsangyue, to put it bluntly, is a fanatical worshipper of the Milky Way Master. Everything he did was to imitate the Master of the Galaxy. The structure of the galaxy was built according to the Milky Way, and his style of doing things was also learned from the Master of the Galaxy. Milky Way Lord, if you think that Cold Moon is an evil person, then the Milky Way Lord is the same. It's just a pity that his personality can't be learned in time. He's just a boorish fellow. He can charge and break through enemy lines, but he can't be involved in those schemes and intrigues. Everything he's doing right now is forcing himself to do it, because he admires the Master of the Galaxy too much. The Master of the Galaxy is Lord Tsangyue's benefactor. The Master of the Galaxy is like a parent. Given Tsangyue's boorish personality, he won't slander the Master of the Galaxy. Furthermore, do you think the Society of Supremes is an idiot? Please listen carefully to their name. The Society of Supremes. It's the highest authority of the human race. Did the Society of Supremes really agree to slander the Master of the Galaxy just because Tsangyue wants to? Do you think the Society of Supremes is a puppet of the Tsangyue Galaxy? Since the Society of Supremes made such an announcement, that proves they have evidence and it's solid proof. If that's what you said, then why did the Society of Supremes withdraw their arrest warrant? Yi Zichen frowned. Wenli, of course. Xian Qing sighed. Everyone in the universe knows that Wenli likes the Master of the Galaxy. The Virtual World Corporation has a very high status in the universe, or rather, it's ridiculously high. If she threatened him at the octagonal table, the Society of Supremes would have no choice but to compromise because the Society of Supremes doesn't want to see internal strife. Internal strife has a huge impact. The Society of Supremes is the current leader of the human race. They want to see internal strife. Because of that, it's no surprise that they withdrew their arrest warrant. That's perfect. Speaking of Wenli, let me tell you something else. In truth, Wenli is a pitiful person. She was tricked by the Master of the Galaxy. Do you know this? What is she saying now? Tricked? Everyone can see Wenli's love for the Master of the Galaxy. But in the end, he didn't get together with her. Instead, he chose an ordinary woman. Xian Qing muttered. What's so strange about that? Just because he likes her doesn't mean he has to choose her, said Yi Zichen. But if he really doesn't like her, why didn't he just say it? Instead, he kept giving Wenli hope? Xian Qing grinned. You should know Wenli. When you have time, you can ask her if the Master of the Galaxy gave her hope after marriage. In this universe, Wenli wasn't the only one who was caught by the Milky Way Master using this method. Venerable Spirit Phoenix of the Fire God race and the Mistress of Space were also caught. You might not know who the Mistress of Space is, but you will know in the future. These 3 women have been fooled by him. But they're all dead set on him. Xian Qing's words caused Yi Zichen's pupils to contract violently. According to what you know, Wenli, Blue Emperor, and the Master of the Galaxy should be an iron triangle, right? Then do you know that the leaders of the Alchemy Alliance, the Weapon Alliance, and the former chief of the #1 dueling arena in the universe are actually closer to each other than Blue Emperor and Wenli? Do you know that among the Guardian clans, the Titan clan is close to the Master of the Galaxy, but in private, the Titan clan's sworn enemy, the Flying Serpent clan, is a trusted aide of the Master of the Galaxy? Do you know that the 3 sovereigns of the machine race are sworn brothers of the Master of the Galaxy? Do you know that the Queen Mother of the Outer Realm was adopted by the Master of the Galaxy? Do you know that the overthrow of the previous regime was actually the Master of the Galaxy's plan? You don't know, do you? Now that I've told you, let me ask you again. Is the Master of the Galaxy very scary? Chapter 2886. Obviously. The weather in the ancestral Dragon Clan was very warm, and the hotel's reception area was also bathed in the warm sunlight. To his surprise, Yi Zichen felt a bone-piercing cold. Scary? If everything was as Xianqing said, then it wouldn't just be terrifying. Everything he had just said, no matter which one it was enough to topple the worldview of all humans in the entire human universe. The machine race's 3 sovereigns were sworn brothers. The Zerg Queen was adopted by the Master of the Galaxy? So, what do you think of the Master of the Galaxy? Xianqing narrowed her eyes. The only sound that could be heard in the reception area was the breathing of the 3 of them. That's right, there was also Aelin. He was an expert of the human race, and had grown up listening to the story of the Milky Way Master. However, the ascetic in front of him had actually said something that subverted everything he knew. Is it explosive enough? If you think it's not enough, I actually have a lot more here. Xianqing laughed again, as if he wanted to tell Yi Zichen all the gossip he knew. Enough. After a long silence, Yi Zichen slowly looked up, his gaze somewhat sinister. Do you think this is interesting? What's interesting? Xianqing didn't seem to understand what Yi Zichen meant. Do you think what I said was funny? You're not wrong to think that, but it's the truth. Nonsense. All of a sudden, Yi Zichen slammed his hand onto the table. Perhaps it was because he was too angry or too panicked, but he didn't restrain his strength, causing the entire table to shatter. The hotel waiter hurried over. Looking at the broken table, she murmured softly in her throat. I'll compensate you later. A cold voice sounded out from Yi Zichen's mouth. Then the waiter left silently after looking at him for a while. After that, a few more people gathered around in disgust. Why are you so angry? Xianqing was still sitting in her seat. She looked at the scattered tables and felt it was a pity. There was no place for him to put his arms. It was a pity that he couldn't rest his chin on his hand and look at the scenery outside. Obviously, the scenery here was very good. He had chosen this place for a long time before he could find this place to stay and enjoy the beautiful scenery outside. Now, the table was destroyed. That kind of atmosphere also disappeared along with it. What you said is the truth. Do you have any evidence? Yi Zichen looked up at him. How do you know so much? And where did you learn all of this? Can you tell me? I can't. Xianqing's reply was very straightforward. I really can't tell you where I learned all this. Even if I tell you, you don't know that place, and you won't believe me. So, why should I explain? A sincere smile appeared in Xianqing's eyes. From the smile in his eyes, it gave people a feeling that he was absolutely not lying, that everything he said was true, that he could not explain to you due to some special reasons, but that you had to believe him. This was actually a kind of psychological suggestion. The more honest he was, the more people believed what he said. If he really made up an excuse, it would reveal the truth and make people suspicious. Using this kind of attitude without explanation, whether you believe it or not. This was a method of advancing by retreating. Sir, you're an expert. Yi Zichen grinned and stared right at him. Heh! Xianqing's lips curled up into a smile that made one feel as if they were bathing in the spring breeze. It seems like you still suspect me. Nonsense. If I didn't suspect you, do you really think I would believe your words? Yi Zichen squinted his eyes as he looked at Xianqing's harmless expression. A random person came to find me and said random things. Do you really think I would believe a stranger like you, and doubt something I've known for so long? Do you really think that's possible? You can't give me any evidence, and you can't tell me where you learned it from either. Just based on your empty words alone, I have to believe you. Do you really think we have that kind of trust between us? If the person standing in front of him was Suyun, the great sage, or Yang Jian, then Yi Zichen would not doubt them at all. He would absolutely believe them. That was because they had that kind of trust. Compared to the Master of the Galaxy, they were close friends that he had gone through thick and thin with. If he didn't believe them, then who should he believe? Now, a random person like Xian Qing came to find him and said those random things. If Yi Zichen believed him, then there was something wrong with his brain. I never said I wanted you to believe me. Xian Qing's tone was very soft, and not at all flustered. I told you from the start that it doesn't matter whether you believe me or not. I just wanted to tell you something. All of this is because you're the Lord of the Galaxy. I was shocked. That's why I chose to tell you all this. If you were someone else, I wouldn't have said it. You shouldn't have said something like that. How could he possibly believe him? Whether it was Wen Li or the Blue Emperor, they both trusted the Master of the Galaxy. They were all peerless experts. As supreme beings, could it be that they couldn't tell right from wrong? If the Master of the Galaxy really was so terrifying, how could they not know? Ridiculous. Xian Qing wanted to use his identity as a god to win Yi Zichen's trust and destroy his trust in the Master of the Galaxy. This kind of thinking was ridiculous and ridiculous. Fine, that's my problem. I'm sorry. Xian Qing stood up and bowed deeply to Yi Zichen. Xian Qing stood up and bowed deeply towards Yi Zichen with a look of pity. Some things cannot be judged on the surface. Just treat what I said just now as nonsense. Right. Don't use your divine power carelessly in the future. The ancestral dragon clan can sense quite a few of them. It's not good for you either. If they find me because of you, then I'll be in deep trouble. Yi Zichen smiled and left his seat. When he reached the waiters, Xian Qing nodded and smiled at them, then placed a few point coins on the counter. Then, like a gentleman, he left. Lord. The taciturn Aelin uttered another word. Go back and pretend nothing happened. Whatever he said. I absolutely don't believe it. Little did they know, not long after Yi Zichen left, Xian Qing, who'd already left, reappeared in front of the hotel window. He looked down at the broken table, then at Yi Zichen and the others' departing figures. It seems I screwed up again. That's true. It really is hard to convince him. I should have interacted with him more. Was I too impatient? Xian Qing scratched his head in an uncharacteristically honest manner. Then, he returned to his usual gentlemanly demeanor and slowly disappeared from the street. Chapter 2887. Actually, Xian Qing had said that the fewer people who knew, the better. Aelin shouldn't have known either. But back then, Xian Qing hadn't felt anything at all. In front of Aelin, or rather, in front of everyone in the hotel. Yi Zichen wasn't sure whether the hotel staff heard it or not. Aelin heard it loud and clear. Before he returned to his room, Yi Zichen ordered him to forget everything he just heard. Just pretend that nothing had happened. Perhaps Aelin also knew how serious the effects would be, or perhaps he didn't believe Xian Qing's words. Indeed, compared to their impression of the Master of the Galaxy, Aelin's words were not credible. Thinking back on what he had said, the Master of the Galaxy could be said to have the entire human universe and the extraterrestrial races in his hands. Those who were close on the surface and those who were close in secret were two different groups of people. These two groups of people kept each other in check. If the human race really made a move, these two groups of people would be standing on opposite sides. Why would the Master of the Galaxy do this? Getting to know two different groups of people. What's the point? In the following days, Yi Zichen chose to stay in the hotel. There was no special reason. He just wanted to hide a little. One shouldn't be too reckless. Boss Wan Yi was still chasing after him the day before. If he swaggered around the streets the next day, he wouldn't be giving Boss Wan Yi any face. If a trillion big shot got angry and attacked again, Yi Zichen really wouldn't be able to withstand it. The data was more or less the same. It was just lacking some details. This kind of thing could be slowly experienced in the future. It was enough to have a general understanding of the framework. No, do you still have points? Noon. Blue Lotus Fairy tilted her head and looked at Yi Zichen in confusion. She had been waiting for a long time. She'd thought of ordering Yi Zichen around when he didn't have any points. It could be considered a way to vent her anger. It had been almost a week. Everyone else's points hadn't been touched either. It was as if nothing had happened. Why do you keep staring at me? Why do you care? I don't have any points. Can't I just give you what I should give you? Yi Zichen sipped his tea helplessly. Speaking of which, the ancestral dragon race really had the same feeling as Earth. There's even tea. The breed was not much different from the ones on Earth. Blue Lotus Fairy was startled by his words. Her lips wriggled as if she wanted to say something, but she choked and couldn't say anything. What, you want to be my mistress? Actually, Yi Zichen could more or less guess what Blue Lotus Fairy was thinking. She wanted to wait until Yi Zichen ran out of points, while she still had the points from that night's autograph, handshake and hug, so that she could properly act like a boss at Yi Zichen's place. It was a pity that her hopes were going to be dashed. Actually, Yi Zichen had been rather nervous during the past few days. He had been waiting for Su Yan to come and chase him for his debt, but there had been no signs of Su Yan at all. This instead made him a lot more confident. Now, he had 8 billion in his hand. He didn't even know how to use them. Aren't you lying? Blue Lotus Fairy frowned when she saw Yi Zichen's expression. You clearly said the other day that you were in debt of a few trillion and that all your points would be taken away. Yi Zichen shrugged non-committally. What are you going to do if I'm robbed clean? Then what can I say? You have a lot of points now, so I can't beat you. Blue Lotus Fairy twitched her mouth. She acted like she knew that Yi Zichen was trying to get information out of her. Ha! Yi Zichen couldn't help but laugh when he heard Blue Lotus Fairy's words and heard Sundra's expression. It seems like you want to hit me. I do have that thought. Blue Lotus Fairy didn't continue to hide it. Fairy Blue Lotus did not continue to hide it. Who asked you to be so proud of yourself in front of me? Whenever I think of that look of yours, I get angry. Unfortunately, your dreams are going to be shattered. Yi Zichen smiled in satisfaction, then laid down in the living room as he sipped his tea. Where did everyone else go? They definitely went out to play. You stayed at home and didn't go out, but they still had to go out. Blue Lotus Fairy shrugged. Then what are you doing here? Me? Blue Lotus Fairy blushed, then tilted her head and looked at Yi Zichen for a while. Why did you pinch my face that day, ha? You pinched my face the day you said that you were in debt. Yi Zichen, who was lying down in the living room, thought about it for a long time, then remembered that it did happen. Then, Xian Qing suddenly came to find him and said a bunch of weird things, causing Yi Zichen to forget about it. Actually, if he really asked for the reason, it wasn't anything special. He just did it out of habit. He would always pinch Xia Keek's cheeks whenever he saw her act stupid. Can't pinch? Yi Zichen tilted his head. Of course not. How can a girl's face be touched so casually? Blue Lotus Fairy said with a serious expression. Girl, this big sis has already lived for several thousand years, right? What is she acting young for? Alright, then I'll apologize to you. Yi Zichen shrugged helplessly, then took out a point stone. I can compensate you with some points, just say the amount. Who wants your crappy points? Do I look like someone that lacks points right now? Blue Lotus Fairy twitched her mouth in disdain. No matter what, she was a rich person with several million. She was no longer the same as when she was living on the streets and had to sell original flavors. Although what she sold wasn't actually hers. It was just a gimmick. But now that the situation was better, when she thought back to the things she did back then, it was truly shameful. As expected, face isn't important when one is in a desperate situation. Yi Zichen looked up at her for a moment, then noticed that Blue Lotus Fairy really didn't seem to want points. Weird. This gambler actually doesn't want points, and she doesn't seem to have gone to the casino these past few days. What do you want if you don't want points? Yizichin was indeed the one who took the initiative to pinch Blue Lotus Fairy's cheek. He was rather rash since he didn't ask for her permission. Thus, he was willing to pay for his actions. How about I let you pinch me? Tisk, who wants to pinch your shitty face? Blue Lotus Fairy twitched her mouth in disdain, then snuck a glance at Yizichin. Do you really want to make it up to yourself? Not really, Yizichin shrugged. I'll make it up to you if it's simple. If it's too troublesome, then never mind. You can't do anything to me anyways. You! Blue Lotus Fairy clenched her teeth hatefully, then bit her lips and wrinkled her nose. I'll forgive you if you go shopping with me. Ha! Yizichin frowned, then looked at Blue Lotus Fairy in disbelief. I said, I want you to go shopping with me. Blue Lotus Fairy put her lips close to Yizichin's ear and shouted. How is it? It's very simple, right? You better agree. If you don't, I won't let you off when I return to the human race. No. It's my fans that won't let you off. Chapter 2888. Then he met Blue Lotus Fairy. Then he saw the Flame Rat, Meng Luo and the others' fanatical behavior. Yizichin actually did a simple check on Blue Lotus Fairy's situation. He didn't know before, but when he did, he really did kneel down. She was the most popular female idol in the human universe. She had fans all over the universe, and could walk around the Milky Way 30 times by her hand. There were many big shots among her fans. Dukes, kings, even sovereigns and tyrants had fans. Under these circumstances, Yizichin submitted to the threat of revenge from Blue Lotus Fairy's fans. There was nothing he could do about it. If Blue Lotus Fairy really did say that Yizichin pinched her pure cheeks, and bullied her in the ancestral dragon clan, it didn't matter if Yizichin was a Milky Way lord or not. The entire Milky Way galaxy would be destroyed. That threat was too terrifying, so terrifying that no one could refuse it. Along the way, Yizichin looked at the young girl, Wind Blue Lotus, who was running around on her tiptoes like an underage girl, with a bitter expression. He felt a bit of regret. Should he have persisted a bit? It was as if Blue Lotus Fairy had something on him. Wouldn't she use it to threaten him in the future? Then wouldn't he have no way to turn things around? Hey, can you hurry up? Fairy Blue Lotus, who was running in front, frowned, her expression somewhat displeased. Out shopping, the two of them had clearly come out together, but Yizichin had been following behind her like an orphan and walking at an absurdly slow pace. Blue Lotus Fairy, who was waiting in place, frowned. Seeing that, Yizichin instantly gave up. He didn't dare to delay any longer, so he quickened his pace. Fine, you can leave. I'll just follow behind you. You said you'd go shopping with me. If you don't follow me, won't I be the one going shopping by myself? Blue Lotus Fairy's eyes seemed to be blaming him. All of a sudden, on the streets of the ancestral dragon tribe, countless men looked in her direction. When they saw her exquisite face and perfect curves, they couldn't help but swallow their saliva and stop in their tracks. As expected, beautiful women are very popular everywhere. Yizichin sighed helplessly when he sensed the surrounding gazes. Looking at their gazes, it was clear that the ancestral dragon race and the universe's humans had similar aesthetic standards. At the very least, Yizichin was absolutely certain that Blue Lotus Fairy's looks and figure were top-notch. In his mind, the only people that could compare to her were Wan Li and Bai Yu. Su Yen and Xia Kiki weren't in the same category. Both of them were his wives. Blue Lotus Fairy definitely could not be compared to them. From the eyes of the ancestral dragon clansmen, they could feel. They also recognized Blue Lotus Fairy's beauty. That's why Fairy Blue Lotus had to do that kind of shameless thing on the street. Clearly, she only needed to take a bath and dress up a bit, then pretend to be pitiful on the street, and there would be countless gentlemen who would extend their hands of justice to her. Disgusting. Suddenly, Fairy Blue Lotus glanced at her surroundings and muttered, "Let's leave quickly. These people are too disgusting." Huh. Yizichin also noticed their gazes. They really weren't serious. But Blue Lotus Fairy actually felt that these gazes were disgusting. You even sold the original flavor a while ago and rented it out yourself. Do whatever you want. Now you actually feel that these people are disgusting? To be honest, Yizichin was rather surprised. Hurry up and leave. Fairy Blue Lotus grabbed Yizichin's arm, then walked outside with a frown, as if she didn't want those people to continue looking at her. It's better to take it slow, Yizichin smiled warmly. Yizichin smiled warmly, then glanced at the surrounding people who were secretly checking out Blue Lotus Fairy. I'll dig out the eyes of anyone who looks at her again. Yizichin stood straight in the middle of the street, and looked at the people with strange gazes without avoiding them at all. I already did something wrong. After feeling Yizichin's gaze, the men who were sneaking glances all lowered their heads and quickly walked away from Fairy Blue Lotus and company. Did you see that? It's fine to just scare people like this. If you're afraid of them, then they'll get even worse. Yizichin twisted his neck, then held the back of his head. How much longer until the place you want to go? Fairy Blue Lotus stood silently on the spot, while the scene of Yizichin standing up for her replayed in her mind. Inexplicably pursing her lips, Blue Lotus Fairy chased after him. It's right in front. Perhaps Yizichin misunderstood the in front that Fairy Blue Lotus meant. From what he understood, it should be several tens of meters or several hundred meters, but she actually took him on a bus. That's right. The ancestral dragon clan actually has buses. Yizichin was completely shocked when he saw it. He and Fairy Blue Lotus bought 2 tickets, then sat in the bus for 3 hours. When they got off, they already arrived in front of a shopping center. Bale Shopping Center. Yizichin was rather shocked that the ancestral dragon clan could actually have such a modern shopping center, which was completely built in the style of ancient times. But then he thought about it, they even have buses. There's nothing special about a shopping center, right? Do we need to go so far to buy something? The bus should have already left the city after 3 hours, which also meant that they were no longer in Liberation City. What do you know? The clothes here aren't available in Liberation City. Fairy Blue Lotus rolled her eyes. Hearing her reply, Yizichin sighed helplessly. As expected, they left the city. Yizichin looked at the surrounding buildings. This place was a lot more modern compared to the ancient buildings in Liberation City. It seemed like Liberation City was already one of those rather backward small towns, while the place they were in was what the ancestral Dragon Clan city should look like. They entered the shopping center. The moment Yizichin stepped in, he truly felt like he had returned to his university days. It was practically no different from the shopping centers on Earth. What's more, the people here were all dressed very fashionably, and were not as unsophisticated as the ancestral Dragon Clan. There were sightseeing elevators and escalators within the shopping center. *CK the ancestral Dragon Clan actually has a place like this, Yizichin couldn't help but exclaim. Yizichin couldn't help but sigh, then looked at Blue Lotus Fairy, whose eyes were filled with anticipation. How did you know about this place? When I came, the person who received me put it here. Fairy Blue Lotus shrugged. Unfortunately, the cost of living here is too high. I couldn't handle it, so I went to Liberation City to let myself go. Now that the economic standard is better, I want to come back to shop. Let's go. If it's more efficient, then we might be able to go back at night. We can go back at night? Not definitely. What do you mean? Yizichin frowned. Fairy Blue Lotus shrugged. The latest bus is at 7. If it's late, then there won't be any. Then, we might have to live here. Fairy Blue Lotus suddenly became shy and blushed. If you want, then let's not go back. Let's get a room and enjoy the world of just the 2 of us. I can let you do whatever you want. Don't even think about it. Yizichin immediately rejected, then reached out his hand and said righteously, dream on. Wishful thinking. Don't even think about getting me in this lifetime. TSK, shameless scumbag. Chapter 2889. Ha scum. Yi Zichen maintained a relatively safe distance from Blue Lotus Ferry in the shopping center. This woman actually lusted after his body. Too terrifying. At that moment, he truly suspected that he had fallen for a trap. It was very possible that this was Blue Lotus Fairy's scheme. She might have brought a pitiful sheep like him to an unfamiliar city, then reached out her evil hands towards him in the middle of the night, revealing her true face as a female pervert. Meng Luo, Flame Rat, you guys can't continue to be her fans. Everything about this woman is just an act. Can you stay closer to me? What are you doing? Am I going to eat you? Blue Lotus Fairy couldn't help but roll her eyes when she saw Yi Zichen, who maintained a distance of more than 5 meters from her. Ha, don't even think about it. I'm telling you, there's no way I'll give in to you. Yi Zichen tightened his collar. Plenty of surrounding customers looked towards them. When they saw what they were wearing, they couldn't help but reveal an expression of looking at country bumpkins. However, when they saw Blue Lotus Fairy, they couldn't help but be stunned. They sighed in their hearts, what a beautiful woman. Okay. Blue Lotus Fairy shrugged her shoulders with a helpless look on her face. Seriously, just what is he pretending for? If anything really happens, then I'll be the one at a disadvantage. Yi Zichen would be the one profiting the most. Seriously, he's not willing to do it. What's more, she merely said it casually. She wasn't in a hurry to stick to other men. With her qualifications, she would have to pick the nobles, the overlords, and the venerables. It was just the identity of a Milky Way lord. She really didn't think that it was that amazing, that it was worth it for her to stick to him. Then follow me closely. I'm not going to care about you anymore. With that, Blue Lotus Fairy truly did not care about Yi Zichen for even a second, and ran around the shopping center with a light in her eyes. It was a woman's nature to love beauty. No woman could resist the temptation of beautiful clothes, handbags, and cosmetics. As for those that she didn't like, actually, it was purely because she didn't want to waste money. Life was already very difficult, so how could she bear to spend on these non-essential items? If the conditions really allow it, then take a look. Yi Zichen didn't care what Blue Lotus Fairy said, and maintained absolute caution. This woman was dangerous. His sixth sense told him so. In the following half an hour, Blue Lotus Deity actually didn't say a single word. She just wandered around the various shops and tried on the clothes that she liked. Yi Zichen let out a sigh of relief. When Yi Zichen thought about how Su Yan and Xia Kiki had been wearing the clothes they brought from Earth, he wanted to buy some for them. As for whether or not they should come personally in the future, Yi Zichen glanced at Blue Lotus Fairy, who was still looking at her bag, and wanted to go next door to take a look. Welcome, the greeter smiled warmly. Perhaps it was because he'd been doing this for a long time, but when he saw a customer enter, he instinctively greeted them. When he saw Yi Zichen's clothes, he couldn't help but smile. An old black robe, although he was quite clean, he didn't look like a rich person. He looked like he came from the countryside. However, this kind of thing was not absolute. The receptionist still maintained a smile on her face. Where are you from, sir? Huh! Yi Zichen was stunned by the question, while curiosity surfaced in his eyes. Do I need to give my address to buy clothes here? No, sir. The receptionist smiled. The clerk smiled, while Yi Zichen shrugged without minding it too much. Liberation City. All of a sudden, Yi Zichen could clearly feel just how obvious the change in the receptionist's expression was when he said Liberation City. The smile instantly disappeared. Even her expression was a bit impatient. Karkit, there's a gentleman for you to receive. The receptionist seemed to be too lazy to waste her breath on Yi Zichen's parents. She waved her hand, then found another receptionist and returned to the front of the store. However, before she left, her gaze towards Yi Zichen revealed a hint of disdain. That's a rather familiar feeling. Yi Zichen had nearly forgotten about this sort of so-called snobbery after leaving Earth for so long. It seems like it's the same everywhere. There will always be people like this. If Yi Zichen was still 20 years old, he might directly take out a pile of points to slap the receptionist's face. However, he had already passed that frivolous age. Seriously, are the people from Liberation City necessarily poor? What's more, since you're doing business, you should treat all customers equally, right? Don't they know what it means to keep a low profile? Yi Zichen couldn't be bothered to argue with the receptionist. However, the Karkat she called out before she left sounds a bit familiar. It seems like the person I fought with in the sacred region was Karkat, the Highness of the Mercenary Alliance. Could he be a receptionist here? It can't be. Yi Zichen's heart was filled with shock. Then he looked over and waited for that Karkat to arrive. Approximately 10 odd seconds later, in the distance, a handsome young man with a medium build and a bow tie ran over. It really is him. Welcome, sir. May I ask what you would like to buy? Are you buying it for yourself or for your wife? We have both men's clothing and women's makeup here. Karkat acted like he had perfectly blended into the ranks of the receptionists. Karkat? Karkat, who lowered his head and smiled humbly, couldn't help but stiffen. Even if it was a domain level, their memories were also extraordinary. No matter what voice or appearance, they would be able to remember it clearly after hearing it once or seeing it once. The surprised and hesitant voice just now, "It's you." Karkat, who looked up, was stunned. He subconsciously revealed a hint of anger when he saw Yi Zichen, but then quickly felt relieved as if he was mocking himself. "Did you come to laugh at me as well?" "What do you mean?" Yi Zichen revealed a look of confusion, then raised his eyebrows. "Why did you come here to be a receptionist? What do you think?" Karkat smiled wryly. "I need to have points if I want to live in the ancestral dragon clan. The last trial caused my points to go into the negative. What else can I do if I don't work here?" Yi Zichen scratched his head with a coy smile. Karkat's current situation was all thanks to him. Don't mind it too much. It's a trial, everyone wants to win." "I know. I didn't say I was going to blame you. What's more, I don't have the right to blame you," Karkat said softly. "I can only blame myself for being useless. Anyways, it's fine as long as you don't cause trouble for my clan." I was actually threatening you," Yi Zichen smiled. Yi Zichen smiled. "Even if you really beat me, I can't possibly cause trouble for your clan. Oh yeah, there are already plenty of people who have loss points, right? The other majesties and majesties are also doing this. How is that possible? Do you think they'll do it? It really isn't possible. Then how are they going to live? Mortgage, loan," Karkat muttered. "Either way, there's always a way to get points. It's just a matter of how much." "Then why didn't you do that?" "Me?" Karkat suddenly laughed, then shook his head wryly. "It seems like you still don't know. I've been expelled from the Mercenary Alliance." Chapter 2890. Was I still removed from the list? You don't seem surprised. Karkat chuckled when he saw Yi Zichen's expression. Sorry. Yi Zichen wasn't surprised that Karkat was removed from the Mercenary Alliance. He also understood Karkat's situation. Karkat's status in the Mercenary Alliance was already very low. He was unable to break through for a long time. Furthermore, he enjoyed the resources provided by the Mercenary Alliance. The Mercenary Alliance had already lost their patience with him. Yi Zichen had also wondered if Karkat would be removed from the list after failing. He didn't think that he would actually be expelled. There's nothing to apologize for. The winner takes all. Karkat's tone was indescribably carefree. The Mercenary Alliance has always treated me as a thorn in their side. They've always wanted to get rid of me, but they lacked an opportunity. No matter what, I was signed by a genius. There's no reason for me to be expelled just because my cultivation level stagnated. We have a reasonable excuse for our failure in the trial. Yi Zichen remained silent. He could understand that Karkat's heart wasn't as carefree as he made it out to be. Your Majesty, she had an extremely high status in the human race. Anyone who wasn't a sovereign or an overlord would have to respectfully call her Your Majesty. She was just that dazzling. Getting expelled was like falling from a height of 30,000 meters. That sort of drop was very hard to bear. Karkat could even laugh in self-mockery. That was already very rare. Actually, I'm rather thankful to you. Getting expelled from the Mercenary Alliance actually made me feel a lot more relaxed. Count. That's not bad. The strongest in our race is only a marquis. I'm already very good. Do I have to be a sovereign or an overlord to be considered a human? Karkat smiled softly. Furthermore, I've heard some news about our trial through certain channels. Actually, the two of us have been appointed. If I lost, then the Mercenary Alliance would get rid of me. We won. The Milky Way lost face, the Virtual World Corporation lost face, and I, a sacrificial pawn, took on the Mercenary Alliance's anger. Heh. Say, these managers, they really are meticulous. Yizichin knew all of that from the very beginning. He knew that he was the chosen one. He also knew that the Tsanyue Galaxy wanted to use this opportunity to suppress the Virtual World Corporation. What he didn't expect was that Karkat was also appointed. There were still such secrets within the inner circle. That's why you asked me if I came to watch you make a fool of yourself. Does that mean a lot of people have come? Muttered Yizichin. Quite a lot. Karkat shrugged his shoulders, declining to comment. And they're all from the Mercenary Alliance. Maybe I've stepped on them too hard. Now that I've fallen into the abyss, they want to take back what I owe them. To be honest, Yizichin found it hard to imagine just what kind of life had Karkat been living during this period of time to be able to say such words? Yes, are you here to buy clothes? If you want to buy, you have to choose me. Let me earn some points. I haven't sold a single item today. It's okay if you don't buy it. The style of clothes here is quite novel. Anyway, I didn't see these clothes when I was in the human race universe, so it's not a big deal to admire them. But you will buy them, right? A smile lingered in Karkat's eyes as he said, I remember that after the trial ended, you seem to have obtained more than 900,000 points, probably 900,000. The female clerk, who was eavesdropping on the conversation between Karkat and Yizichin, raised her eyebrows. She wasn't actually eavesdropping on them on purpose. Karkat and Yizichin didn't care about anything when they spoke. In their eyes, the people of the ancestral dragon clan were no different from the NPCs in the game. They were merely passers-by. They would leave when the time came. What's more, the things they talked about weren't particularly important, so they didn't have to worry about leaking any information. At the very beginning, the clerk didn't mind it too much. During this period of time, a lot of humans came to mock Karkat. What's more, they would all buy some clothes in the end. They would even go to other shop assistants to buy them, even if they didn't buy from Karkat. She was one of the many people who benefited. Because of him, the shop's profits improved quite a bit, and the shop owner also kept him as a mascot. But just now, she actually heard 900,000. This country bumpkin actually has 900,000. Karkat, the customer is here to buy clothes, not to gossip with you. Did the store manager look for you to let you gossip here? The female shop assistant frowned and angrily rebuked. You go and guard the door, I'll show this gentleman around our store. Oh, it seems like you heard it, Yizichin smiled knowingly. He wasn't surprised by the clerk's actions at all. He's seen too much, this sort of person. Okay, Hongjie, Karkat quickly lowered his head. It was obvious that he really wanted to earn some points from Yizichin. However, he didn't dare to disobey the clerk's words, so he silently returned to the entrance of the shop. The female shop assistant's eyes were also filled with smiles as she walked over. Mister, I have no points. Yizichin shrugged helplessly, then looked at Karkat and shrugged. I used up all my points when I first came to the ancestral dragon clan. I'm barely getting by. Just look at my clothes and you'll know. All of a sudden, the smile on the clerk's face froze as well. Yizichin saw what it meant to instantly change his expression. Why did you come here without points? You didn't say that you can't enter without points, right? Yizichin shrugged in confusion. I'm doing business. Since you opened the door, is there a problem with me coming in? Are you going to chase me away? Heh, country bumpkin. The clerk glared at Yizichin in disdain, and did not hide the disdain in her eyes at all. Go and tell your poor friend. But let me remind you, don't dirty our clothes here. The clerk scolded angrily. She had already completely fallen out with Yizichin, and there was no way for her to reconcile with him. Of course, if Yizichin had points, then she would instantly reverse the situation with how snobbish she was. Karkat's expression also turned a bit ugly. This snobbish, he hated it too. He couldn't help but think of his girlfriend back then when he saw her like that. She dumped him mercilessly when he was unable to break through. Then, she found a new boyfriend the next day. Lord of the Milky Way, what do you want to see? I'll take you to see. Clothes can be tried on however you want, there's no need to worry about them getting dirty. What's more, these clothes aren't necessarily cleaner than people, Karkat said in front of the clerk, then dragged Yizichin into the store. The clerk was completely enraged when she heard that. Hey, what you said just now was too offensive, right? Yizichin muttered after entering the store. Isn't that just scolding the locust behind my back? That woman doesn't seem like a good person. Worst comes to worst, I'll just quit. I hate snobbish people the most. Karkat said with a look of disdain. What about you, why did you spend your points so quickly? Zhuing stole them. Zhuing? Karkat understood. It's because of the Milky Way, right? It was not strange for Her Highnesses of the human race to know that. Yizichin also shrugged and nodded. That's a bit too much, Karkat muttered. Then what are you going to do now? Before Yizichin could reply, the clerk's laughter sounded out from outside the store. Welcome. What do the two of you want to buy? From her passionate tone, it was clear that she had caught a big fish. Is Karkat here? A sharp female voice sounded out from outside. Karkat instantly clenched his fist when he heard the voice. Not long later, he saw a couple walk in. Karkat, you really are here. Chapter 2891. The couple seemed to be very close to each other. The woman had a standard human appearance. She had a good figure and was somewhat pretty. As for the man next to her, a bull human? The man had 2 bull horns on his head. Generally speaking, humans were very proud of their bloodline. In their eyes, beastmen were considered inferior. But judging from the woman's behavior, she seemed to be throwing herself at him. This meant that this bull human was not simple. Karkat, why aren't you saying anything? The human woman glanced at Karkat and immediately covered her mouth in surprise. Why are you wearing these? You're really a waiter here? I heard from my friends that you're not really believing it. Her surprise was as fake as it could be. From the teasing look in her eyes, anyone with eyes could tell that she was here to mock Karkat. Hey, Karkat! Are you pretending not to know me? Aren't you going to call me? Do you still want your tribe to have a good life? The woman's eyes suddenly darkened. Hearing the word tribe, Karkat's arm trembled involuntarily. He clenched his fists tightly. Dailina. Dailina is for you to call me that, the human woman said coldly. Call me Your Highness Dailina. Do you think we're on the same level, you clown? Dailina, Your Highness. Karkat's arm was trembling violently. One could imagine the torment and shame he was feeling right now. Or perhaps it was more accurate to say that he was furious. That's more like it. Dailina snorted coldly and immediately raised her eyebrows. I must have been blind to have been deceived by you. This is my boyfriend, His Holiness of the Weapon Alliance, Aubert. His Holiness Aubert, Karkat muttered. The bull-horned human glanced at him with disdain. Then, he tilted his head and looked at Dailina. He's the one who was removed from the list? Yes, a clown. Dailina's expression was cold. Everyone strives for higher ground, but His Holiness became a highness. His Highness was removed from the list. How stupid. It's really funny. Why did you fall for him before? I was fooled, Dilena said coquettishly. But he didn't touch me anyway. You know that. Yeah. Dilena and Aubert's explicit words were like knives stabbing into Carket's chest. He lowered his head silently and clenched his fist. There's no harm in being shameless. Suddenly, as Dilena and Aubert laughed without restraint, Yizichen's voice reached their ears. The two of them immediately stopped. They had noticed Yizichen earlier, but they didn't pay too much attention to him. All they wanted to do was mock Carket. She didn't expect him to actually speak. Who are you? Dilena frowned. Don't meddle in the affairs of the human race. I'm just reminding you. Yizichen squinted his eyes and muttered. Humans need to have some face, especially women. What you said just now made you seem very mean and cheap. In any case, they used to be in a relationship. Wouldn't it be better to part on good terms? Has Carket done anything wrong to you? It's none of your business. Heh. Yizichen maintained his cold expression. You said Carket lied to you? From the looks of it, you were most likely the one who threw yourself at him, right? Do you know what's the difference between humans and animals? Humans know how to hide their shame and keep their face. Oh yeah, that Aubert, right? You don't have to worry about that, because I'm not a human. Say that again? Aubert was furious. I owe you? Yizichen laughed coldly. Aubert glared at him. You're a human? Where are you from? Do you dare to say your name? Yizichen, Her Holiness of the Virtual World Corporation, the current Milky Way Lord. Yizichen revealed his identity without any hesitation. Aubert and Dilena were startled by what they saw. Milky Way Lord? What, are you scared? Yizichen laughed. If you're scared, then *CK off and go to the washroom. Otherwise, it would be too funny if your pants get wet while you're walking. Tisk, isn't he just a Milky Way Lord? Dilena suddenly laughed in disdain. What's the use? It's indeed useless. Yizichen shrugged and muttered. It's a good thing we're in the ancestral dragon clan. If we were in the human race, I don't know if you'd dare repeat that in front of me. Right? We're so lucky, we're in the ancestral dragon clan right now. Dilena's arms trembled inexplicably. She looked into Yizichen's cold eyes. She was indeed a bit scared. Just now, she really was forcing herself to say it. If she were in the human race, she really wouldn't dare. Milky Way Lord. She had the entire Milky Way behind her. The Virtual World Corporation, the Universe Union Bank, the Hidden Planet Flower Clan, the Spirit Rabbit Clan, the Steel Family, and the Holy Region Cosmic Nation. None of them could compare to her family. Even if she was now Her Highness. Dilena, let me ask you. Once we get out of here, do you dare repeat that to me? Or should I remember what you said today, and pay you a visit after we get out so you can get to know me better? Yizichen chuckled softly. But to Dilena, that smile was like a demon's. What's so great about bullying a woman? If you're so great, come at me. You. Fine, I'll come find you later, said Yizichen, glancing at him. Yizichen glanced at him. Tell your clan that we, the Milky Way Galaxy, will pay you a visit. Then, I'll send a sovereign from our galaxy over to have a good chat with your clan. Consider it as fulfilling your wish. Instantly, Aubert's expression changed dramatically. Carket, who was standing behind them, stared in shock. Then his heart filled with undisguised envy. This was his background. This was the absolute power of his background. You. What do you want with my clan? I told you to come at me, said Aubert angrily. You're not qualified, Yizichen sneered disdainfully. I'm a mighty Milky Way Lord. Do I need to quibble with you? Do you think you're qualified? Go back and ask your clan head if he has to kneel in front of me. I'm already being very merciful by letting you stand in front of me. To put it bluntly, you're no good in the ancestral dragon clan, said Aubert disdainfully. Milky Way Lord, don't always bring up the outside world. We're both here for training, So let's use the ancestral dragon clan's method to solve this. Why? Yi Zichen shrugged. If I can use it outside, why wouldn't I? I want a supreme to go to your clan. Aubert, right? I've already contacted the Milky Way galaxy. Just wait, your clan will contact you soon. When that happens, think about it. Do you want to stand and talk to me, or do you want to kneel and talk to me? My dear Lord Aubert. Chapter 2892. Silence lingered in the clothing store. Aubert's gaze darkened. Right now, he didn't feel anything other than humiliated. The Ox clan truly didn't have a high status amongst the human race. Due to their lack of talent, they rarely produced any expert. Even the strongest of the Ox clan was only a titled king. Aubert had been chosen by the Weapon Alliance to be their majesty. It wasn't because of his talent in cultivation. In fact, when the 8 magnates chose their majesty and her highness, they all had different standards. In truth, the Space Energy Administration, they valued management ability, the ability to respond promptly to problems, and the ability to understand and explore resources. These were their first criteria, followed by talent in cultivation. If the first 4 criteria were all outstanding, even if they were slightly lacking in cultivation talent, they were willing to nurture them. The Pill Alliance, Weapon Alliance. They valued pill refining and artifact forging ability. Cultivation talent was secondary. Only the Virtual World Corporation, the Union Bank, the Arena of Dueling, and the Mercenary Alliance chose cultivation strength. In other words, those who were chosen by the 4 sects were all people with extremely high attainments in the path of cultivation. The other 3 weren't like that. The Weapon Alliance had taken a liking to Aubert's artifact forging ability, which was why he'd been given the title of Majesty. Milky Way Lord. Are you threatening me? Aubert's gaze darkened, and white steam billowed from his enormous nostrils. Indeed, in terms of clan strength, he wasn't as strong as the Milky Way Lord, but he was still the Weapon Alliance's majesty. The Weapon Alliance wouldn't let anyone bully him. I acknowledge the Milky Way's power, and I acknowledge your background, but don't forget, I'm also the Weapon Alliance's majesty. I'm not someone you can trample on just because you want to. Well said. Yi Zichen smiled and shrugged. You know how to use the Weapon Alliance to talk? It seems like you're fairly intelligent among the Ox clan. You're not stupid to the point of being an idiot. Let me ask you something else. Do you know Niu-Mang? I don't, said Aubert. Then I don't have to worry. Niu-Mang was a king-level expert. If he was a senior of the Ox clan, he would definitely be well known. Because the Ox tribe's aptitude was too poor. Being able to produce a king-rank expert was already a miracle. Even if it was the people of other tribes and clans, when they heard the news, they would be filled with gongs and drums and firecrackers. Aubert did not know who Niu-Mang was. This proved that it had nothing to do with him. Only then did Yi Zichen feel much more at ease. No matter what, Niu-Mang was a comrade who'd gone through thick and thin with him during the Sacred Region Cosmic Nations War. For Niu-Mang's sake, Yi Zichen couldn't bully his clansmen too much. Now, there was no need to worry about anything. Don't worry about what? Aubert snorted coldly. Milky Way Lord, I advise you to mind your own business. I'm not afraid of you. Are you looking down on me, the Galactic Lord? So what if I am? Aubert straightened his neck and shouted angrily. When he replied, he didn't notice Yi Zichen's words at all, as well as the hidden thunder in them. All right. Remember what you said. Yi Zichen grinned. Aubert, let's have a good chat now. The grudge between us isn't as simple as me wanting to bully you. It's you who insulted the title of Galactic Lord. Your disdain is an insult to the Milky Way galaxy, and also to my teacher, the Master of the Galaxy. I sent people to your family to demand an explanation. To the Milky Way Master, to the Milky Way Lord. Why are you being so disrespectful? What's the use of raising the flag of the Weapon Alliance? You can contact the higher-ups of the Weapon Alliance and ask them if they dare to interfere in this matter. It wasn't that Yi Zichen looked down on Aubert. In terms of IQ, he was far behind. Yi Zichen had done plenty of word games. Sometimes a single word would cause a lot of problems. The Weapon Alliance wanted to interfere? Ask Wen Li of the Virtual World Corporation and Lan Di of the United Bank. Aubert despised the Galactic Lords. This was looking down on the inheritance of the Master of the Milky Way. If the Weapon Alliance did not intervene, they could let the Milky Way handle it. If they dared to reach out, even if they said a word. He slapped him in the face without any hesitation. Brother Ao, let's go. Dai Lina had already begun to retreat. In truth, she was the one who'd said those words of contempt. She was truly afraid of what would happen if Yi Zichen really sent people to her family. Aubert furrowed his brows. I've already recorded everything you said and sent it to my assistant. We'll send someone to your family with the recording. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and smiled. You're messing with me. No, I'm not messing with you. It's you. And that woman in front of you who disgusts me. That's why I wanted to teach you a lesson so you too won't forget, Yi Zichen said coldly. Don't think that just because you're an exalted highness you can do whatever you want. Even exalted highnesses have their own rank. Do you understand? And you, Dai Lina. When Yi Zichen pointed at her, Dai Lina's shoulders trembled violently. Aren't you a exalted highness? You saw Karkat's name erased, so you came here to boss people around. You're after. He already had it a long time ago. Also, if a woman wants to climb up in the human universe, you can't just use your face and your flirting. There's no meaning in doing that other than making you seem cheap. The universe recognizes the strong. Right now, you're relying on Aubert. What if he falls down or dies in the future? What if the novelty for you wears off? Or, if Karkat stands at the peak of the universe in the future, will you regret your current actions? Karkat's name was erased from the Mercenary Alliance. But he's also a real Earl. Who do you think you are to point fingers in front of him? Dai Lina couldn't even lift her head. Karkat, who was standing behind them, couldn't help but be moved. Is Yi Zichen speaking up for me? Former enemies. I didn't think that Yi Zichen would actually speak up for me when I'm down and out. It makes me feel rather pitiful for myself. I've had so many friends that call me brothers, but after the Exalted Highness left and the Exalted Highness was erased, all of them were gone. Don't even mention speaking up for me. Yi Zichen already did his best not to kick me when I'm down. Aubert roared with bloodshot eyes when he saw his woman being insulted. Attendant. The female attendant hurried over. Sir, don't you know how to kick someone like that out? Look at what he's wearing. What do you think he can buy? Aubert pointed at Yi Zichen and shouted. Tell him to F***ck off. I'm buying all of the clothes here. All of them? Yes, all of them. Aubert nodded, then looked towards Yi Zichen with a mocking gaze. Sir, the clothes here cost over 1,000,000 points. All of them. Aubert replied without any hesitation. He knew that Yi Zichen should have points as well, but it definitely wouldn't be more than him. He was someone from the Artifact Alliance. He didn't have much of anything, but he had a lot of equipment. He directly pawned 2,000,000 points when he came to the Ancestral Dragon Clan. Even if he spent it all, he could continue to pawn. In the human race, Yi Zichen was a Milky Way Lord. In the Ancestral Dragon Clan, Aubert really didn't care about him at all. Get out. The female attendant pointed at Yi Zichen angrily without any hesitation. Hey, you're letting me out just like that? Yi Zichen couldn't help but find it funny. You believe him just because he said he wants to buy it? Don't do stupid things for some small profit. Can't you tell that he's very scared of me? I don't care about your identity in the human race. The female attendant said coldly. It's meaningless here. I only recognize customers. Who said I won't spend? These gentlemen want to spend millions. What do you have to compare with this gentleman? Don't you find it laughable? Who said he can't? Suddenly, Blue Lotus Fairy walked over from the entrance of the shop. I'll pay for him. Chapter 2893. Blue Lotus Fairy. Lina and Aubert both revealed surprised expressions when they saw Blue Lotus Fairy at the door. Blue Lotus Fairy walked over with a cold gaze. She directly stood in front of the female clerk. All of a sudden, the female clerk felt like she was being suppressed by Blue Lotus Fairy's gaze, causing her to be unable to even lift her head. Regardless of whether it was the aura that Blue Lotus Fairy released, or her perfect body and looks, all of them caused her to feel ashamed. Isn't it just points? I'll pay for him. Seriously, there are so many snobs like you in the service industry. With that, Blue Lotus Fairy tilted her head and looked at Yi Zichen with a frown. Why did you come here? Where did I go? Isn't this next door? Yi Zichen said helplessly. You bought it? What should I buy? I wanted you to help me take a look, but when I turned around, I noticed that you were gone. I looked for you for a long time. Blue Lotus Fairy frowned. Blue Lotus Fairy frowned and scolded, then pouted and rolled her eyes. Really, I have to clean up the mess for you. Sis, I didn't want you to clean up. Several million, it was nothing to Yi Zichen. However, Blue Lotus Fairy's words at the entrance of the shop truly moved Yi Zichen. I have to treat Blue Lotus Fairy better in the future. Although she didn't have a bottom line normally, and didn't leave a perfect first impression on Yi Zichen, at the very least, she wouldn't kick him when he was in trouble, and would instead help him when he was in need. Wait. Yi Zichen instantly frowned. She should know that I have a lot of points, right? Doing this, she can't be trying to use this to get closer to me, and have ulterior motives towards me, right? Are you Blue Lotus Fairy? Lina spoke cautiously. Yes, what about it? I am your fan. Oh, I don't need a fan like you. To Yi Zichen's surprise, Blue Lotus Fairy's expression did not soften at all, and directly rejected Lina's confession coldly. I came to solve the problem. Are you two using points to bully Yi Zichen? Very well, I won't use the human race to suppress you. If I do, your families shouldn't be able to handle it. That was Blue Lotus Fairy's confidence. He didn't even need to ask about Aubert and Diana's identities. He could just tell them that they couldn't take it. Aubert and Delina's expressions changed. They all knew Blue Lotus Fairy's position in the human race, whether it was in terms of strength or fan skills. In terms of threat, she was even scarier than the Milky Way Lord Yi Zichen. They actually knew each other. Furthermore, from Fairy Blue Lotus's expression, he could tell that the relationship between the two of them was not ordinary. Since we're at the Ancestral Dragon Tribe, we'll follow the rules of the Ancestral Dragon Tribe. Isn't it just points? Come, call your store manager out. Not long after, an honest-looking middle-aged man ran into the shop. Ma'am, do you have any questions? Do you really not want to know, or are you playing dumb with me? Fairy Blue Lotus couldn't help but laugh. From the beginning to the end, the shop owner was just a few meters away. He can't know what's going on here. Never mind, I can't be bothered to argue with you guys. Blue Lotus Fairy pursed her lips and smiled. Blue Lotus Fairy pursed her lips and smiled, then pointed at Aubert, Lina and the female shop assistant. You guys, say that Yi Zichen can't afford anything. I'll buy it for him with double the price as long as these two people scram. I'll be even more satisfied if I can fire this snobbish woman. Ma'am, I'm asking you if you can do it or not, Blue Lotus Fairy interrupted the shop owner coldly. Ma'am, you are all our customers. We're open for business, how can we just casually chase away customers? The shop owner gave a simple and honest smile. Blue Lotus Fairy lightly nodded her head. Then how can she? Su Hong, the shop owner instantly frowned. The female shop assistant lowered her head and didn't dare to speak. Ma'am, our staff, triple the price. Make them scram. Blue Lotus Fairy took out the point stone. The manager frowned, but it was obvious that he was already looking at Aubert and the others from the corner of his eyes. He wavered, Aubert, who noticed that, instantly frowned. He couldn't confirm how many points Blue Lotus Fairy has, but from her expression, it doesn't seem like she's doing it for no reason. What's more, with Blue Lotus Fairy's idol status among the humans, it wouldn't be hard for her to pawn the gifts she received here for a few 100,000,000 points. In terms of points, he might not be Blue Lotus Fairy's match. Milky Way Lord, no matter what, you are someone with status. What's so great about standing behind a woman? Aubert turned his attention to Yi Zichen. If you can, then use your own points to make me scram? Having a woman to rely on is also a skill. Yi Zichen chuckled, then nodded. Yi Zichen grinned inexplicably, then nodded slightly. That's right. Yi Zichen chuckled, then nodded. Me using my points to make you scram isn't that big of a deal. How about this? Yi Zichen directly took out the point stones. I've bought all of the clothes in this shop. Karkit is responsible for the sales. I just need you to fire this shop assistant and get these two people to scram. Is there a problem? Sir, that includes your inventory. That will require around 200,000,000. I'll transfer it to you right now. Yi Zichen held up the point stone. Say it, how much do you need? I need to count it. Just give me a rough estimate. I feel disgusted just looking at these two people. Can we hurry up? Then 180,000,000, the store manager coughed with bloodshot eyes. With reddened eyes, the store manager coughed lightly and said, This is a branded store. The price for single parents is higher, and there are many limited edition ones in the store. The total value is at least 230,000,000, and the store members enjoy a 20% discount. I'll charge you 180,000,000. What do you think? I'll transfer it to you right now. Yi Zichen held the point stone and transferred it over. The store manager's eyes turned slightly red after receiving the points, while her breathing quickened. Sir, please sit for a moment, I'll get someone to. Can we sort out the matter in front of us first? Yi Zichen glanced at the female clerk, Aubert and Dai Lina. Su Hong, you're fired. Karkit will be the vice store manager here from now on. And the two of you, please leave our shop. We do not welcome the two of you. The store manager's expression was filled with coldness. Aubert and Dalina both looked at him in surprise. Aubert even shouted with a serious expression. Aubert even shouted, He has 200,000,000? Yes, this sir has already transferred 180,000,000. Please do not make a mistake and leave my shop. Also, I would like to advise the two of you to be more respectful when you see this sir in the future. A person with 100,000,000 and above is not someone you can casually instruct. Any person with 100,000,000 and above possesses a high status in the ancestral dragon clan. Please leave. Thank you. Chapter 2894. From start to finish. Yi Zichen maintained his warm smile and nodded towards Aubert, Dai Lina, and the female shop assistant, Su Hong. Milky Way Lord. Aubert shouted with bloodshot eyes. From his point of view, this sort of insult was worse than killing him. Oxmen cared about their face the most. Aubert had sworn that he would cause trouble for Karkit with his woman, but in the end, they were actually chased out of the shop. How could he tolerate that? Please leave. The shop manager's tone had already turned cold. So what if I don't leave? Aubert glared at him. Why do you care if I leave or not? I leave if I want to leave, I stay if I want to stay. Who do you think you are to tell me what to do? Sir, I already gave you 3 warnings. So what? Hello, this is Shop 16 of the 3rd Business District. Please send someone over. Someone is causing trouble here. The shop manager took out his walkie-talkie. Hearing that, Aubert's expression instantly darkened. What do you mean? Nothing, sir. You'll know soon enough. Not long after the shop manager said that, a group of security guards walked in from outside the shop. That's him. The shop manager quickly pointed at Aubert. The man at the very front of the security guards raised his hand and made a please gesture. Please leave, sir. You. Before Aubert could even finish his sentence, the security personnel had already made their move. "Let go of me! Milky Way Lord, tell them to let go of me!" Aubert shouted with bloodshot eyes. Yi Zichen shrugged with a smile. "Let go of him." The security guards frowned, then looked at the shop manager, then let go after getting his permission. Aubert patted his clothes and looked coldly at Yi Zichen. "Heh! Does His Holiness Aubert have anything to say?" Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and muttered, then raised his eyebrows and pointed at the clothes in the shop. "Or, does His Holiness Aubert want to buy all the clothes in this shop as well?" "No problem, I'll give you that chance." Hearing that, Aubert's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. "How could I possibly buy everything here? 180 million. I can't afford it at all. Even if I pawn everything I own, it's impossible." "What happened? Could it be that His Majesty Aubert has run out of points? Didn't you use points to pressure me just now? That's it? And here I thought you'd have a bright future. Milky Way Overlord, aren't you relying on the fact that you know Blue Lotus Fairy? If not for Fairy Blue Lotus, would you have these points?" Aubert lowered his eyes and sneered. From his perspective, Blue Lotus Fairy was the one who gave Yi Zichen his point. "Blue Lotus Fairy, he said that the points were given to me by you." Yi Zichen shrugged helplessly, then slapped Aubert across the face. "So what? A slap worth 8 billion points." One could well imagine the effect when it landed on Aubert's face. This slap directly loosened his teeth, and his whole body slammed heavily against the tempered glass outside. Yi Zichen smiled, then slowly walked in front of Aubert. "Aubert, what qualifications do you have to order me around? Who do you think you are? I can exterminate your entire clan with a single word. Do you believe that I can make you lose everything you have? You dare hit me?" Aubert roared with bloodshot eyes, then raised his fist and punched towards Yi Zichen. Boom! The energy barrier instantly sent Aubert flying back to the tempered glass. "Wake up. You know very well that points mean everything here. Yet you still want to punch me? That's fine, I've found a good excuse. If you want to threaten the Milky Way Overlord's life, then use this as an excuse. Do you think wiping out your entire clan is enough?" Aubert's pupils contracted violently. Then Yi Zichen twisted his neck and returned to Dai Lina. When she saw Yi Zichen walk over, she hurriedly lowered her head. "Raise your head and look at me." Dai Lina, whose heart was filled with terror, slowly looked up and saw Yi Zichen point at Aubert. "Break up with him. I can guarantee your clan's safety. If you insist on being with him, I'm not sure if your clan will be able to survive. Or perhaps you'll be suppressed to the point where you can no longer survive in the human race." Aubert looked up with shock in his eyes. He looked at Dai Lina, who was biting her lips and shaking her head repeatedly. "Dai Lina, think carefully." Yi Zichen put his mouth next to her ear and laughed softly. "If you can curse him to my heart's content, I can pretend today's events never happened. But if you can't satisfy me, then what did you say about being a Milky Way Overlord? That's what you said, right? I'll give you 3 seconds to consider. Let's split up." Before Yi Zichen could even count down, Dai Lina said it out loud. Yi Zichen wasn't surprised at all. She had no feelings for Aubert at all. She was just using him for her own benefit. When the benefits she gained from Aubert were less than the benefits she lost, she naturally knew what to do. "Dai Lina!" Aubert shouted. "Aubert, I've never liked you. Do you really think an ox-human like you is good enough for me? You're just a lowly race with slightly higher intelligence than a porcupine. Do you know how disgusting it is to be with you? Also, don't be so full of yourself. Do you really think you can have me? The one you slept with that day was just a girl I hired to accompany you. She just cast an illusion on you. Don't come and find me ever again. I feel disgusted when I see you." Dai Lina's words were sharp. Aubert, who sat limply on the ground, revealed a look of terror in his eyes. You're scaring me," Aubert shouted. All of this is fake. You still want the national weapon I gave you, It's all because you're stupid. I'm going to kill you. Aubert and Lina began to fight. Yizichin watched on with a smile, then tilted his head towards the security personnel. I'll have to trouble you then. It's our honor to serve you. The security personnel nodded respectfully. They had already found out from the store manager that this person was in existence above the level of 100 million. Although the difference between 100 million and a trillion was huge, 100 million was already an extremely high status amongst the lower class. The security personnel walked outside and separated Aubert and Lina, then cuffed them and took them away. Yizichin smiled silently, then gave the store manager a look. You can go pack up now. Yes, sir. The store manager took the employees to pack up, while Karkit walked over from behind. Thank you. You're welcome, Yizichin smiled. You should get quite a bit of this 180 million. If you don't have to, then don't be a shop assistant. After all, you used to be a king. You will indeed be laughed at if you work here. Of course, if you're doing this to train your mental state, then pretend like I didn't say anything. Milky Way Lord, you're a decent person, Yizichin smiled. Maybe, Karkit said softly. Maybe, Yizichin smiled. If you can't survive in the future, come and find me. I'll be very happy to accept you. In the future, if you return to the human race, you can also bring your race to the Milky Way galaxy. We are very willing to accept your race.